Hey everybody, welcome back to the Colorado Skate Podcast. We're at Channel 3 Arcade, as usual. It's episode 14. We've got William Spencer and Shad Spencer today. Um, yeah, it's two back-to-back podcasts in a row. Probably don't get too comfortable with that because I don't know if that's going to be the regular thing, but it just so happens that, uh, yeah, we're back again. Yeah, thanks for coming, William. Thanks for coming, Shad.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, yeah, what are you up to today, William?
Today, I think we're gonna do a little 70-second Winona Mish. I'm doing a little documentary with the Dern brothers, so Destin's with me kind of out here filming at the old spots and talking about old tricks or weird stuff that people saw back in the day, and they're like, "What's the backstory?" So it's fun, yeah, just going around
Oh,
Denver.
so you got a whole nother like documentary kind of back-to-back documentary session today then?
Yeah, basically, yeah. We're just making a documentary, kind of building up to my part that just came out.
Oh
So,
yeah, yeah, that was pretty sick. We went to the premiere. That was awesome.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that whole setup that whole setup was pretty cool. So that was just you and Sam put that on or
Yeah, Shad kind of helped set it up.
okay.
Yeah, it's got the ball rolling.
Okay, that's
Mhm.
cool.
So, but yeah, it seemed like a good spot for it, and
Yeah.
they'd always do premieres there, and yeah, that kind of, I guess it's part of the purpose of having that spot too, is to be able to do things like that, which
Yeah.
is cool.
Yeah, it is nice.
So
Yeah, it was
they were
really cool of
down.
them to do that.
Yeah, it was a pretty good turnout. It was kind of short notice, it seemed like, or was you guys planning on that for a long time?
I think it was. Sure,
Ish.
time
Yeah.
sneaks up on you. I don't know. I was like, all right, how much promo are we gonna do? Does that make sense? Because maybe everybody kind of feels like this, but I feel like Instagram now, especially because that's kind of the main platform that puts stuff out on, and people see stuff, people don't see stuff. You could post about it for 2 months and people might come. It's one of those tricky things about social media, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of like you have to get in that window, I think, where it can't be you do it too
Oh,
early and
for
people will
sure.
just forget about it,
For
and
Yeah.
you
sure.
do it like too late and people are not gonna have enough time to pay attention.
Yeah.
So it's like a weird kind of
Yeah,
everything's so quick.
and there's a third thing too. I think, it's one thing of like just being like, oh, whatever, I don't care, let's just do it quickly, right, on the fly. But if you're really promoting, because like Toy Machine comes to downtown or whatever else, it is interesting that like there's a certain level of obnoxious kind of making sure people know,
Yeah.
that you like there's almost a comfort level of like, hey, I'm sorry I'm doing this again, but don't forget on the whatever. And you do have to get that sweet spot of not doing it too much, but just enough so people actually come,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because otherwise,
Beat
Yeah,
the
you-
dead horse syndrome.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then people are like, I'm not coming just because I can't
Because I'm,
stand here.
yeah,
and
I'm
hear you talk.
annoying of you
People
already
probably
before
have
the
that
thing.
attitude, unfortunately.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's a really kind of a guessing game, and what the algorithm shows people in the midst of that too, where you're just playing, what's
Right.
gonna happen.
And like the self hype, like people just don't like that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
generally speaking,
Yeah,
maybe.
You
which
just-
is fascinating because people don't like it and they need it, or else they don't know that it's happening.
Yeah, so you're
That's
like
the weirdest, like,
you're like skating this thin line of like
Yeah.
this Goldilocks zone is like so narrow where like how much can I put out there before people think I'm just annoying, but
Right.
how much can I put out there so people know that I'm exist and I'm
Dude.
irrelevant at the same time?
Yeah, because for me,
It's
I've
super
never,
hard.
before this video part, I was never really proud enough to self-promote or send anybody a sponsor me tape, because I was like, oh, don't they? And this is the one that was like, all right, I'm gonna put in enough effort that if I want, I'm not saying I'm going to, but if I wanted to put it out or send it to someone, I'll at least be like, yeah, that's kind of what I meant to make. So, promoting it wasn't as hard, at least, because I was like, hey, if you show up, I think you'll at least be entertained.
Yeah.
And I do think that helps with like how you talk to people and you're like, hey, come on Friday or see you, instead of being like, I don't know, you might not. Do I like it? Do you like it? And then you have this insecurity thing that you're like, maybe, does anyone like it? Don't come. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Where does that go?
That's
Right.
how I would promote my
You actually
Just
would.
like, you know what, forget it. It's okay.
We're not doing it.
Yeah.
Unless 100
We're
people
canceled.
Dude, that would be sick actually if you do like the reverse where you're like, hey, we're gonna cancel unless someone hits me up to let me know
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah.
Where everyone's like, wait, what?
Just have
Make
a
'em feel bad.
sympathy,
Yeah, have people
sympathy
show up
party.
out of pity. You're
Yeah.
like, yes, it worked.
But also they do come. You're
Yeah.
like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be sick actually.
Interesting strat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you've had like how many like proper interview like on like Good Morning America, and like
Oh yeah.
I saw you do that. I don't generally. I'm pretty bad at like doing research on guests, and I kind of just sometimes like to assume like I know nothing. You know what I mean?
Oh
But
yeah,
there's some
sure.
stuff I know. Like you've had proper interviews before and stuff like that, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah. Quite a few. I've been super lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the girlfriends that I had who's so awesome. Her name's Kira Sims, and she was running promotion at Sony. And in that moment, you're kind of like if you don't know much about that process of like movie making, who gets interviewed, who gets the credit, who doesn't get the credit, all that stuff. That at that time, when they were like, oh, whatever, just give this guy an interview, it later on, you're like, oh, just so you know, they usually just don't do that for people. And it was really cool for her to feel like it was valuable enough to like pull those strings and thought, oh, William has something to say. I think it'll be cool. So super thankful that she did that.
How many have you done? Maybe like 4 or 5, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I can't, not like that, but you know what I mean? I'm like, I don't, I don't
Yeah.
remember. It's been quite a few years of,
But yeah, less than 10, you'd say?
yeah,
More
I
than
would
3?
say, yeah, probably. Yeah, here and there, sure.
Yeah.
Less than 10, more than 3.
Yeah.
Somewhere there.
It's cool though, because it is one of those things that, at a certain point, like having dreams about doing something and then just being like almost too cool to be like, yeah, I did that. At some point, you become not self-promoting at all, and then nobody knows
Mm.
about it. And so I've struggled with that with many years of trying to like feel good about having a dream of doing something like that, then repping it later and going, no, I'm really proud of it. I think it was good. And even sometimes in a movie, it doesn't turn out the way you want, but it's not your fault. But still representing, going, all right, well, I didn't not do that movie. That's cool. And like trying to find the good part of it to talk about and be happy about.
So basically, what I was coming is like, what are those questions that like everyone asks you? You know, throughout those interviews, is like you just.
Oh,
'Cause
they're pretty classic. They're pretty standardized. What's the worst injury you've ever had? What's the craziest stunt you've ever done?
Uh,
What's the biggest director you've ever worked with? Like, what's the craziest fight scene you've
uh,
ever done?
These
and
are all the things we're not going to talk about.
yeah,
Exactly,
that's
exactly. But we got them out of the way.
right. That's what I wanted to do because,
Like,
like, you know what I'm saying. That's what kind of what I was like. Yeah,
oh,
if you want to see those stuff, like, we don't have to.
Yeah.
You know, like people like we were talking to Doug yesterday, and he's talking about coming into town. He's like, yeah, you meet up with your friends, and they all ask you the same questions. You know what I mean? I'm like, and so we did the podcast, went and saw him at the show, and then hung out with him, and he listening, and then like my sister goes talks to him, like someone else goes talks to him, and then
Same.
same
Yeah.
questions, like,
mm,
literally asking him the exact same stuff. So I
Yeah.
kind of don't want to wear you out with that kind of stuff.
yeah. I mean, I think another thing too that I've sort of realized over time is when I was younger and I was trying really hard to do something, right? Because I like didn't really go to college. I tried for a few years and just nothing happened with it. That trying to build towards something that you're like really proud of. That I'm not one of those people that's like, yeah, I did it. It's sick. Don't ask me. I'm like, I work so hard on that to not be like just a pile and like sit on a couch that ask me. I want to tell you because I put a bunch of work into it. So I'm not like that at all because I've never even like around Denver, I've never even come back and done an interview ever around here. So
Yeah.
if you want to ask them, feel free. If you don't want to ask them, no big deal. Doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
I just kind of was like want to get
Yeah.
a feel how your comfortability, you know, if you're like annoyed by that kind of stuff, you know.
No.
And I was mostly trying to be funny with.
I like it. I love it. No, I'm in. Yeah. But no, I don't mind because it's awesome because a lot of that stuff, telling it to random people or telling it to someone specifically from a skateboard perspective is also a fun, different version of that.
Right,
too,
and those people
know?
don't care about your skateboarding.
Yeah.
You're-
And
or
there's
like-
like
As much. at
there's no
least.
Right.
crossover. Like they don't even get that. Like it starts from there, and then because that's an interesting journey, anyways.
For
Because
sure.
skateboarding is a pretty far from that.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
kind of, but mostly, right?
it's weird. There are so many elements of it that are really useful for stunt work, and then there's other elements that are entirely you're like, oh, that's totally benign. We would never do anything with that. you know?
Right.
Yeah, it's a little mixed bag.
Yeah,
sure.
that's wild too. And then, yeah, and how long are you in town for?
That's a good question. I think Destin and I are just kind of gonna go with however many spots we can get rifled off for the documentary. When we feel good about that, either he'll try to ride back with me, or I'll stay on a little longer, hang with this guy. I don't get to come out as much as I want. So when I'm here, because I did drive out to drive those boards out, I like to make the most of it.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is cool.
Yeah.
It's always good to see him and hang out and spend some time together.
He loves it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I try to keep him entertained in between his documentaries he's
Yeah.
making and
Docs and stuff.
his docu-series.
Yeah, you have to call them docs. They're just
Yeah.
sicker.
It's way more hip.
Way more. But yeah, it's cool to be here. It's a fascinating California. It is so hot right now.
Oh.
And coming here, I mean, obviously now it's totally fine, but I forget that about Colorado where they're like, hey man, it's springtime. Just kidding. You're all, what? Like, what?
Yeah, I know, like Friday
Like,
night.
what?
Snowing, and now it's,
Yeah.
65.
Right.
And Destin's only seen snow 4 times in his life where
Wow.
he's just like the emotional roller coaster. It's all gonna be fine. We're gonna get nothing. Oh, we're fine. No. Why is it hot? You know?
Yeah, yeah.
He's like, oh,
Yeah, he was stoked it was snowing the other night.
Yeah, he was.
Because it dumped for 15 minutes and then stopped.
Right.
Yeah. It's like convenient snow. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then I don't know who that is. Who are you talking about?
So, do you know the Dern brothers?
I don't think so.
Oh man, I'll show you. I'll show you some of. They have an awesome YouTube channel. It's 3 brothers, kind of like us. But they all skate, and they basically started this series where they do kind of spot histories, right? But what's really cool about them is like A, they're just nice people. They're funny, right? But also B, if they go to a spot, you know, like, and not to throw anyone under the bus, but certain people who've done spot reviews or spot histories, they're like, here's the top 5 Reynolds tricks only. Anybody else who went down this is not valid, right? Like, they don't mean to, but they like taste make for you.
Uh-huh.
But these guys are like, dude, if you did something down that set, like, if we don't put it in the YouTube video now, if you put in the comments, you know, we'll tag that person, we'll let them know. And it's really cool because they try to like, and he deep dive, Destin especially will deep dive into all the footage from any local video or anywhere, have people send him in stuff before he puts it out to make sure everybody gets their credit for doing stuff down whatever set it is, you know.
That's awesome. So they're doing it just for Winona right now? Or they're doing a different thing?
They have
Yeah,
been
what's-
doing, if you, and I'll send you their YouTube, they've done Wilshire, they've done everything.
Uh-huh.
But
I
it's,
think, sorry to interrupt
please,
you, but
help me with this intro.
I think what they're working on specifically is something for you, not a spot check, but just Colorado spots and then spots that probably are associated with tricks that you've done. Am I right?
So-
Okay, so that's what the
So this is what's cool is, thank you. That's
Yeah,
great.
you're
So
welcome.
to divide up what's happening now, what I'm telling you about, I was just introing you the Dern Bros. And the last part of the Dern Bros thing is this. So he has a middle brother, Dalton, and his youngest brother, Kanan. And they just, one of them just, they had a double pro party, which was so awesome. And one went pro for heroin and the other went pro for zero on the same day.
Oh, wow.
So what's really cool is they go to the spots, they talk about the spots, they like try to name everyone off, and a lot of times the brothers will skate the spot afterwards,
Oh,
which
yeah,
is
it's
really
pretty
cool.
entertaining.
Gnarly. Yeah.
yeah.
Because yeah, but it brings you back into reality of like, you know, anyone could just go talk about it, like, yeah, these guys are titans, they did it, and then he'll be like, oh, I'll 50 it really quick, and you're like, it really brings you up to date with it, and sort of sets them apart where they go and also skate it, which feels good because then you feel like you're having that experience with them.
That's awesome.
But yeah, they're rad. Their channel's really growing very quickly,
That's
which is
cool.
super awesome. They were just on the 9 Club, I don't know,
Okay.
a month or two ago.
Yeah, they
but
seem like really cool guys.
yeah, they're just really funny and they're super nice. They're from Florida. And the last thing, so basically, that's what they're usually doing. Destin came to my premiere in San Diego. We met, whatever else. We started talking. He's like, hey, I want to make a video with you at some point. And as things have kind of like, and we'll talk about the Thrasher thing, I ended up not putting my new video part on Thrasher. That he and I talked back and forth, and soon we're like, well, why don't you guys release it? And if you release it, he's like, yeah, whatever. We'll share the revenue or whatever we get from it, you know, with you. Obviously, you can promote the skateboard that's coming out with it, but also I'll do a documentary kind of building up to this video part. And so as we've just like talked about it, we've done a lot of the spots in LA that I skated for the new part. And then I was like, hey, I'm going to go out and do this premiere. Do you want to come with me? And he's like, yeah, actually, it'd be cool to kind of like take a look back at like literally your timeline. Because he just did what's really cool, and it did pretty well for them, but he made a video where it's literally all the footage of his brothers progressing from when they're little kids to literally when they go pro.
That's awesome.
And it's a very cool, super like meaningful journey that I saw that and I was like, hey, like, and he's like, yeah, I think we should go to some of the old spots, talk about those tricks for you that were kind of like at the time were like really important to you or whatever, and then we'll build into this current part. So yeah.
And how did you link up with them? You just said you met him at a
Yeah, he came to. I did
Just to your
another.
premiere. That's how recently you kind of known him, and you guys like linked up and were like
Oh,
down?
that was probably so. I've had the like trying to premiere my video and then get it out with Thrash or whatever else. It got so set back. I actually went to Taiwan with my girlfriend and her family. Did premieres there. I went to with the Osaka Daggers. Did premieres around Japan. My friend of mine, Emiko, and her son. A lot of the skate parks that they would go around and practice at, they just did premieres at all these places. Came back to the U.S. and it was like, hey, where else could I do? And I asked Willie Santos. He's like, oh, I'll hook up a premiere in San Diego. You should do that. And so
Just hit up Willie Santos. That's cool.
oh, he's so nice. Well,
I
it's
believe
fun.
it.
It's funny because he's very awesome, by the way. Like community wise, he just brings. In fact, Red Bull's so interested in Curb Wars because he can literally get people on board to come play a game of skate, do whatever in Curb Wars, right? Like people that people just can't get a hold of. He knows everyone. He's
Yeah.
a great liaison. Where they're so interested in him because he's just his community around skateboarding is so awesome.
Yeah,
like
it's
his
like
attitude around
40,
it.
Cool.
40 years of networking
Yeah.
in the industry.
And if
Yeah.
you watch Curb Wars, it's so funny because it's never like stale, but also there's funny commentary from people. He'll just bring on new people to just talk about it. He's never like everybody shut up, let me talk about the thing. He's very inclusive when he hosts it too. He's freaking awesome. Anyway, he hit me up to help with this TV show called Animal Kingdom. Big surprise, they want to do a downhill race in just the terrible hills of Burbank that whoever picked went and scouted it. It's like big cracks, like
Oh,
they're literally like
geez.
cracks.
Cracks.
Me, Sierra Fellers, a bunch of guys, Willie, but we all bombed this thing. And then after that, after you hit me up about it, I was like, just kept in touch with him because he's awesome. Yeah,
That's sweet.
yeah,
That
he's
is cool.
Yeah,
And the fact that he's been around for
forever.
he's one of
Yeah.
my
Oh, and
childhood
don't,
favorites.
Yeah, mine too.
I've told him many times. I'm like, remember when you did that? And he's like, maybe. I'm like, well, I do.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about
Didn't he?
what
Did
you
he
did.
not do full cab ollie north down something?
Sure, he probably did. He
I
had
thought he had
a
shorts
part
on.
in a GNS video that I had on VHS as a kid. And I don't even remember the name of that video. It's been so long, but I remember watching that video and his
Yeah.
part on repeat over and over.
And he used to skate mini ramps pretty gloriously.
Well, I saw him at a hookups demo with Jeff Rowley, Dan Rogers, and Jeremy Klein in Dallas. I think it was like 1995. And all they had to skate was they had the hookups van, the original Toyota, the one that looks symmetrical.
Oh, yeah.
almost, and then like a box on top, but they've saved that for the last. But they were literally, they had a bench and a chair on its side and a bank to refrigerator. Of course, Jeremy Klein's skating the bank to refrigerator,
Sure.
or like two wedges maybe. But yeah, they were doing flip tricks over the chair on its side, which was, dude, it was like this tall, you know. But I'd never seen live professional skating before. And I was like, dude, these guys are going so fast and they're popping their tricks so good. But yeah, I don't think he missed a single, nollie 360s over it, full cabs, backside flip, frontside flip, whatever. And that was probably more mind blowing to me than anything else I saw, like on the bench or whatever.
Yeah,
Just
because
like
popping your
I didn't
tricks,
know
especially
you.
over a chair
Yeah.
like that, weird obstacle to like even look at when you roll up to.
Yeah, but they were all like mostly, I guess, Rowley and Willie Santos were just rifling flip tricks off over this chair on its side, and it blew my mind.
That's
So I didn't
so
know you
sick.
could even flip your board that high.
Yeah.
On flat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at that speed too, it's a whole different,
Yeah.
you know.
There's something about seeing something in real life that you've never seen, and you're like,
Yeah,
you just can't believe it.
yeah,
It's not the same as watching videos or
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly, and it's so inspiring too because
yeah.
like
Well, the
cameras can never ever capture. You're like, it's just that much steeper, huh?
Right, yeah.
I took Destin to Bear Creek, and because he's seen the tricks, and he's like, yeah, it looks fun, let's go there. And then he was like, that's really steep. Like
Yeah.
it sure is.
It's definitely a little gnarlier than in footage, but that's like any spot. There's hardly ever a spot you go to where you're like,
Yeah.
this is so much easier to skate than I
Yeah.
thought. You know,
True.
film.
Well, actually, it's funny you say that. There's one
Let's hear
spot in
it.
California that's behind this tennis court, and it's a perfectly made bank with a curb on top of it that's perfectly smooth and extra wide. That I was like, I was like, here we go. Went with Laban, and I was like, oh, here we go. I'm sure I'm gonna get up to this thing. I could kick for board slide it, and it was actually made so
Perfect.
only in
That's
California
awesome.
though. But that's the only spot I've ever been to. Everything
Yeah.
else, you're like, and not only that, but people are like, hey, we film in 8K. You're like, so you have 8K of resolution, but you can't tell it's steep. What's the 8K for?
Yeah.
You know, like what does it even do
That's
if you
funny.
can't tell it's steep? You know.
Well,
It's for the,
the
colors.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
fisheye has a
yeah.
double-edged sword too, because obviously
Yeah.
it enhances things, but then it'll squash a kinked rail,
Oh yeah,
you know, or
for
a
sure.
bank or whatever
For
else.
sure.
So it's kind of
Yeah.
you're playing with both of them. You're like,
Yeah, capturing skateboarding on video is quite the art.
yeah, it
Mhm.
really is, because you want
Mhm.
things to translate, of course,
Yeah.
and it doesn't always.
Yeah. Well, and it's hard too though, because skateboarding sometimes is done in a place that no one spent any time art directing, where
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just grimy and
Yeah.
like you're like, that's the ugliest building I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Too bad this ledge is in front of it. I guess we'll just deal with it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where there's like the enhancement of it can only be camera moves or only be, angle.
Yeah,
Because otherwise you don't want to look at it.
right.
Like no one wants to look at that building.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember years ago, skating foundation spots or like that famous spot out in AZ, and
Oh yeah, sure.
Chandler.
and
Yeah.
even like York Street, the
Yeah.
original, and there were certain people that were Adam Crew kind of brought this to my attention. He was like, I hate spots like that, the way they look on film.
Mhm.
And at first I was like, hater, hate, hate. And not that I was brainwashed by it, but the more you think about it and see it, you're like, yeah, those spots look super barren.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool to see a spot that has some,
Yeah.
dimension to it or texture, whatever else.
Yeah.
And it's not that it's like unusable footage,
No,
but
no, indeed. But also too, that's one of the hard things about a spot that you don't own, because if you're like, dude, let's roll out some paint on this puppy, but the truth is we don't own it, so we can't really even play that game.
right.
Like
And then,
if you painted the ground a different color, even that would be nice.
Yeah.
You're
And
just
then-
not allowed to, kind
yeah.
of.
And then how far do you want to go? I guess
Yeah.
you get
Yeah.
into we already play we go pretty far.
Oh, we sure do.
Yeah. But then I
Yeah.
mean, I'll be the first to call myself out, and I don't really care, but like the trying too hard,
Yeah.
which is doubled with just being obsessed about something or having a
Yeah.
vision for something that at the end of the day you're like, I guess I don't really care what anybody else thinks as long as I'm happy with it.
Yeah. Well, how often do you watch? I mean, that's what's nice, watching footage back and not having that weird, like, where you're like, oh, that's not a toe drag, but I don't love it, right?
Mhm.
When you make, and that's this new video part for me was like that, where I tried hard enough to make, when I go, I just want to not be annoyed when I watch this back. I want to not the weird arm or the jerky whatever or the like crazy film. I just want none of it, so that when I watch it, I at least go, hey, if you don't like it, oh well, oh man, it's just the satisfaction of that, That I think the trying too hard for me is in that realm a lot of times, Because then you have to watch it a bunch of times, you guys. People are like, we'll see you apart. And you're like, here we go. I guess I'll watch myself be annoyed
Yeah.
again when I.
Well, in that realm or on that level, I mean, look, people like Reynolds does the same thing or did. What was
Yeah.
it? Stay Gold bonus footy. I mean, he went and refilmed so many tricks.
Well, he went and refilmed all his night footage for day footage because he didn't want it to be mixed.
Yeah, see, there you go.
Yeah.
And
No,
then on
that's-
top of that, or what I thought was kind of interesting, I think he filmed that, what was that, nose slide 270 out on that, whatever the spot is down the rail, the
Mhm.
long mellow rail. Forgive me for not knowing that. Anyway,
never been
and
to
then
that
he ended
spot,
up, I think he
yeah.
ended up using the first one he did after he did it so many times. I could be wrong, it could be another trick,
Mhm.
or it could have been like the third one he did, but he did it
But-
over and over
yeah.
and over and
But the
over.
point is, I mean, truly, every once in a while redoing a trick tells you what you wanted to know, which
Yeah.
is like, it's sometimes giving yourself options does help you regulate the craziness of going, I don't know, where you go,
Yeah.
okay, I thought I could do it better, I couldn't, and now we're with this. That's good.
Yeah.
It's actually helping you narrow down,
Yeah, usually if I get a trick and I can get it on film, like
You're happy with that.
I'm just never gonna put a filmer through, like,
Oh.
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because it's like, dude, you made it. Like,
yeah.
I'm not gonna like, hey, bro, can you film this again for
Yeah.
2.5 hours, even though I made it again?
Yeah. Well, let's be honest. That's probably the healthier route.
It is the healthy route. but you know what's funny is amongst ourselves, because like I guess that's just the way it goes with brothers. But we wouldn't, if he was like, I'm gonna go refilm it, and I'm like, we just shot that, I would in no way question it.
Mm.
Well,
I just assume.
likewise.
Well, exactly, but I would just assume like, oh, we're in for another death march, you know. But it's us. It's not like a third party that's like
Yeah.
not
Yeah,
used
that you're
to
bringing out
Yeah.
somebody else out that's rolling their eyes like they're so bummed that they have to
Yeah.
spend another 3 hours at the spot
Yeah.
for the same clip.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because that's what we did during Colorado. Is we really got done with Burning Daylight, and all of a sudden like, oh, new deadline, and we're like, what's happening?
Yeah.
I was like, well, you film, okay, it's my turn to film, you know, because we just film back and forth
Yeah.
pretty much.
And that's nice too.
Yeah, it works good. And
Yeah,
with the
it's convenient.
expectation of knowing each other's, I guess, level of whatever you want to call it, where we're like, all right, well, we got to do whatever we got to do to get it how we want to get it. And if it
Yeah.
turns into like a 3 trips back
Yeah,
thing.
if you're
You're not
if
wanting to
lucky.
hit anybody other filmer up and drag him out, but
Yeah.
you're like, well, he's down, so
Yeah.
it works, and
Yeah, and
vice versa.
There's always that balance in that relationship of like, filmers are super busy. They got so much time. Like, what could I possibly do to not bum this guy out? So
Yeah, burn my bridge.
You know what I mean? I get invited, and like, if I,
It's just the mail.
oh, I was gonna say, all right, that was weird. Yeah, so it's like, what could I do to not only just get invited back, but if I hit them up, then they're not gonna like,
Yeah,
they're gonna be stoked, you know? So it's like,
Yeah,
it's hard, you know? Because
It is, yeah, you got to maintain that balance for
Yeah.
sure with their demeanor when they show up, too.
especially good filmers, because good filmers want to be with the best skaters, you know?
Yeah.
And if you're not the best skater, you have to do extra to
Yeah.
be
Right.
considered to
yeah,
get in the
100%.
Yeah.
mix, you know?
But
I think that was another thing. Cut you off.
No,
I'll be quick.
please.
I've always been interested in filming anyway, regardless. But
Mhm.
having, trying to put yourself in a position where you're in control
Yes.
of that,
Yes.
or have a relationship where it's reciprocal,
Mhm.
reciprocating,
Mm-hmm.
is most ideal for me.
Yeah, the
that
pow-
way if you're scratching somebody else's back,
Right.
you don't feel as bad.
Yeah,
For
I think it alleviates some guilt for sure.
yeah,
Yeah, the power
In a
play
great
is
way.
get your own camera. And then,
Yeah.
you know what I
Right.
mean? It's like,
Yeah.
go find other people to film, and then you're like, hey, can you
yeah.
film me for a minute? And you start with the giving instead of
Yeah,
trying
exactly.
to start with the
Yeah.
with the ego.
Right,
Yeah.
because a lot of skateboarders don't. They have no idea. They just want to be filmed, and I get that. It's understandable, but once you kind of are on both sides of it, I like what you said about like instead of taking, you're giving something or offering something.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I've always liked that perspective where you do feel like you can offer. If I have to have William point the camera at me for 5 hours, I know that I can return the favor.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah,
or
'cause
whoever.
the
I shouldn't say
asking-
whoever because I'm picky about who points the
True,
camera.
true. That is true. Yeah. But I do think that that's what's cool about it. I mean, in this video part that I finished off, I was of course trying to pay my filmer as much as I could for whatever time,
I'm
'cause-
sure he was stoked with anything, because I've
Yeah,
never heard of
'cause that's
I've never
unheard of,
heard of a skater
unfortunately.
paying
Yeah.
a film or anything. Maybe
Yeah.
buying them Wendy's or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Usually
At the
that's
end
the
of the session.
responsibility of the company or
Sure,
somebody
sure.
else that's in charge. And then they're also like, well, we'll give you $10 a clip because you live at home in your parents' basement, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to exploit that.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
And that's a good $1.80 an hour.
Yeah,
You know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah, it's pathetic.
Ow, ow.
Yeah, the industry is,
Yeah.
it's unfortunate. It's so messed up.
It's just getting worse too.
Yeah, it is getting worse.
Yeah.
And at
it's
the
a
end of the
little out
day-
touch with reality.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's kind of, you're unfortunately for, well, whatever, you deal with it. But I guess from my perspective, that's why I'm so happy I don't have and haven't had to ever have any like financial obligation or reliability on it or have gone into that.
Well, you
Side.
had your own company, like
Yeah, but that's a
multiple
money
times,
pit.
right?
Yeah, but in reality,
He's like, I
it's
said,
funny.
give money, not make money.
Yeah.
Like-
There's a difference,
He
right?
had too much he had to get rid of, you know?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Doing a skateboard company or 2 or 3 over the years, you're like, you just know that you're doing it because you love it, and
Yeah.
you're gonna probably have to ask your brother every 6 months for $4,000 or $5,000
Yeah, no
to do
big
another
whoop.
board order. Did I say that out loud?
Who
Anyway,
would do that?
but yeah, it just doesn't even. That's why it blows my mind that companies like Toy Machine and Girl are still even around. I mean, if you
Yeah.
saw all the ins and outs,
Yeah.
you'd probably be pretty. And I correct me if I'm wrong. And if somebody hears this and they're like, "What? No, Girl kills it," I doubt it. And if they
Well-
do, that's awesome.
Well, and
That's
here's
great,
what's
but-
cool too is you can just not talk about it, right? And that's what most people do.
Yeah,
They're like, these wounds are over here bleeding, but don't look at them.
Yeah,
Because why
exactly.
would they? Because it would only, you know,
Yeah.
what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's the whole thing. Is like skateboarding is such a fantasy. Ultimately, that you're getting this curated image of what it
Yeah.
actually is. You're getting cut, edited
Mm-hmm.
versions of this, and behind the scenes, there's
yeah,
is where skateboarding is.
right.
You know what I mean? We always watch these videos and these clips, and there's whole stories behind each clip, behind each skateboard came from somewhere.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And there's a whole group of people that you'll never get exposed to, and you're just looking at this one guy and this one part,
Sure.
and the whole industry is like behind this curtain, behind this veil that like normal people never even think
Yeah.
about. You know?
Mm-hmm.
right.
And
Well, and technically, they don't want you to think about it either.
Right,
You know,
yeah,
because they're
too.
just trying to
Yeah, 'cause-
represent what sells the best.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're creating that image to promote that they've got
Sure.
the little girl symbol, and this is their video,
Mhm.
and this is what they want you to see, and it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
it's Wizard of Oz
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
but
very
it's full
Wizard of Oz.
standardized marketing, you know, what
Mhm.
people have to do to
Yeah.
make something happen, or at least in their opinion of what they have to do, you know?
Well, if you think about it too, you know, certain pros are like, all right, well, we're having to do budget cuts. Probably 90% of them are like, okay, well, I still want to be pro. I still want to have my name on a board. I
Mhm.
guess I'll go get that second job that I've been
Yeah.
knowing that I was probably going to have to do anyway,
Sure.
you know, to hold the fort down.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's almost like a just standard issue anymore.
Yeah.
And it has been for quite some
It's
time.
kind of always been that way, I
Yeah.
think. And it's
Yeah.
before and after, like you get pro for a certain time, but only a certain amount of pros are gonna be able
Yeah.
to live any kind of normal
Right.
lifestyle just being a skateboarder.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then before and after, you're not set up with the experience of skateboarding that you
Yeah.
spend all your time doing that you could transfer that knowledge or skill set into anything that's going to be
Right.
putting you in a situation where you're taking advantage of normal or like able to achieve some kind of like normal lifestyle.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
I mean, in general, it's very fascinating. Jess and I were just watching the tail end of Tampa Pro.
Mm.
And I don't know if you know this, but for like the top spots in Tampa Pro, what they pay out is hilarious.
Like
Like,
$2,000.
Yeah,
Like,
like
I
here's
got you on the
$500.
coin.
No way.
You're like, okay, so let me see if I got this right, and maybe not for the top spot, whatever. But this is fascinating. I was talking to Destin about this yesterday. Like the amount of skill involved to just skateboard, right? The amount of skill. Anybody in the NFL, if you were to do this, right, you're like, okay, so I'm gonna take random 5 people out of their cars right now. I'm gonna get a football. I'm gonna have you run a little distance. I'm gonna throw it to you. There's a good chance you're gonna catch it, right? Like that's the skill set of football, sure, right? Getting paid millions of dollars. I'm gonna take 5 people out of their cars. I'm gonna give them skateboards and go. If anyone here can kickflip, I'll give you $1 million, right? No.
No, that's not
No.
happening. You get 4 or 5 like good dudes, like proper pros or AMs out of the truck and like do a kickflip first try. Like
Well, my
one
point
of them's
is-
gonna boof it, dude.
Oh, that would be me.
Totally. But
Me too, for sure.
But what's fascinating is you have Monster, you have these people
Right,
that are
huge.
that
yeah.
you go, that is all the money that you could muster up for these guys being at this high level.
Mm-hmm.
It's just crazy. The generating of money, whatever else it is, it's fascinating that you can have that much skill on the planet, that much skill, and it doesn't translate to any money.
Yeah, I think that's probably skateboarding. That ratio of like actual like skill and prowess and difficulty of technique and compensation is probably the widest gap out of
Yeah.
anything that I could think of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think
it's
part of it,
fascinating.
Yeah.
it's sad, but part of it is too the lack of relatability. Like people, there's a, you know, skateboarding is supposedly more popular than it's ever been, but that doesn't mean people that don't skate fully comprehend how difficult it is, you know?
Mhm.
Or if it even speaks to them, they're like, "Oh, that's cool. That looks cool." They don't appreciate it like another skateboarder would.
Yeah.
So therefore, maybe there's like a, and then on the other hand, I'm putting my foot in my mouth. The people that don't skate are probably buying more skate products and Thrasher hoodies and
Yeah.
hardcore skateboarders and helping keep the
Yeah.
industry somewhat afloat anyway. So it's such a
But that's the irony.
convoluted, insane.
Yeah. But the irony is, wherever the money is coming from and going to, it's certainly not in the contest bracket
Yeah.
of like, have $200. You're like, you just beat 150 guys at this, and you get $200.
Yeah, that's insane.
What?
It's really like under $1,000 for.
We'll look it up, you'll be back. Here's the thing: even if you go, oh, that's inaccurate, you'll go, wow, he's not.
Well, even
wrong.
like $5,000 or something.
Yeah,
But that is
You're
like,
cool. That just paid
but
my
that's
bills
tippity
for
top.
a month.
almost a month. Yeah.
No, dude, it's shockingly low.
I believe it. I believe it.
And this is the ratio though. I'm just saying that much skill. The baddest dudes on the planet from all countries too.
Yeah,
It's not
all
like
over
it's
the
just
world.
the U.S.
Yeah.
thing. They brought in everybody. Like, here you go. Here's your, and they're probably like, it doesn't cover the plane ticket. But
Yeah, but
okay.
they're not. I feel like they know they're not there for the
Yeah, that's a-
expectation of money. That's
right.
the big difference in skateboarding
Between
too.
Tampa Pro and something else.
Well, just between skateboarders and everybody else in the world is
Yeah.
like if there was actually money in skateboarding, there would be so many more people in skateboarding because people
Maybe so.
chase money. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Ultimately, like they're only
generally speaking.
generally speaking,
Yeah.
yes. And
I mean, but now it's more than ever, which is interesting.
Yeah.
This is probably the most, you know what I mean? Especially with the Olympics.
Right.
Especially Japan.
right, well, YouTube and
Dude.
internet.
How do you guys feel about the Olympics? Sorry to cut off your. Do you want to finish your thought? I'm
No,
sorry.
that's cool. We're just train of thought. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead, William. What do you feel about Olympics
Skateboarding.
I'm fascinated by the idea that officializing something could make people try so hard, you know? Especially Japanese women are just going to town.
Yeah, better than I've ever been.
Like where I was like, I just didn't know that was the tip off for people being like, oh, we're not kidding anymore. Okay, cool. Let me get in there. I was like, well, holy
Yeah.
crap! Like,
Uh-huh.
because for me, skateboarding is, I think, sort of untamable, anyways.
Right.
Right? It's like just you can put it in an arena, but at some point, someone's like, oh, I just don't feel like doing it like that. Then you'll get whatever other version. So I don't think you could ever. The Olympics could never trap skateboarding.
No.
Right? Not like ice skating, or not like where they go, no, you got to land perfectly on the one foot with your leg out. Like none of that. But at the same time, it does make you wonder how much creativity can stay that is noticeable within it and then to be judged, right? Because if you got like your Andy Anderson comes through and does his run on the thing, it's not like he won. They were just kind of going, yeah, go ahead, right? But it's fascinating because he didn't win. He was good. He did cool tricks. He put in some freestyle stuff. But it's interesting because that type of creativity in no way got him further in the Olympics for sure. Which that's what's hard, is measuring something that can't be measured and then measuring it anyway and then saying someone won.
Yeah.
That's a tricky, difficult
Yeah, and it's
area.
so objective, and it's like who's judging.
Yeah.
What are their?
How
what
do
are-
they feel?
yeah,
What do
yeah.
they value? Sure.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so, I mean, that goes with every Olympic sport that they have
Right.
judges, which there are a lot. It's not like there's a race where this guy won and the camera said that he won by this
Yeah.
millionth of a second. Where
Right.
you can
Yeah, it's
quantify
not a race.
This guy
exactly.
threw the shot put 48 meters or
Right,
whatever.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's quantifiable. It's like
Yeah,
It's
sure, the measurement, sure.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
unquantifiable.
Maybe we should just have a high ollie contest.
That's what I was thinking. If there is going to have Olympics, we should have like
Just
That would be
straight
awesome.
up
Speed,
How
like,
far can you
yeah,
ollie? How high can you?
yeah, it's like quantifiable stuff.
It would at least be relative.
Yeah,
It would.
But then you have ice skating and everything else that's on the same. But
Yeah.
isn't there like a format for ice skating
Yeah.
too? Like you got to do the triple axel and you got to do the
True.
9-9er.
You must.
Yeah.
And I think they judge them based on their stees too, like their
Yeah,
outfits,
touch,
their
yeah.
outfits, and
Their outfits are
Yeah.
steep.
You know what I mean?
True. I'm not mad at a flamingo situation.
I think
Any
my
color, any.
I think my issue to butt in with the Olympics, or my opinion on it, I should say, I'm not trying to sound like a grumpy old man, even though I am. I don't like the exploitation of the. I already have a hard time calling skateboarding a sport from my personal
Sure.
perspective, but there is there is sportsmanship, like
It's
qualities about it.
athletics.
So I get that it
Sure,
is
yeah.
athletic.
Yeah, there's parts for sure.
So, and I do like that, there's certain, like, maybe etiquette standards with things to an extent, but that shouldn't define it. However, with that being said, I think I just don't like the Olympics as an organization, just another entity that's trying to exploit a sport or an art form and for
and
definitely not the benefit
and
of
not
the,
have any more money flow into it's the problem. 'Cause I don't know if
Exactly.
you know this, but with the Olympics, a lot of
You don't
times,
get
no
paid.
matter who, not just skateboarding, but whoever they sponsor leading up to the Olympics. As soon as the Olympics are over, they are then dropped usually. Do you know what I mean? It's for that time only.
yeah.
So you don't really like if you were to talk to a bunch of Olympic athletes, oftentimes they go, "Yeah, there's a little bit of boost of money for me to train for the thing," and then it's over.
Right.
That you just go, "Well, what's the
And then it's once every 4 years. So every 4 years, like,
Right.
if you're really good, like world class, like, can you maintain world class relevance for 2 generations, basically?
Yeah.
yeah?"
Do you know what I mean?
hmm
Another
mean,
thing too, they don't even give them real medals. Like, they're not real gold medals. They're not real.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No, dude, they're like not
Wow.
even
That's
real.
it. I had no idea. That's
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
just another
well,
thing
yeah.
that's stupid about it.
Right.
It
I
just
don't know.
doesn't. I mean, it's. I knew it was coming. It's the same with breakdancing, though.
Oh, that
You
was
know,
silly.
Was
Yeah.
breakdancing in the
You
Olympics?
didn't see all the memes?
This really
So-
puts things into perspective for me. That's hilarious and makes me despise.
Oh man,
the
I can't
Olympics
believe you
even
haven't seen the
more.
memes.
No.
Well, what's even funnier
I gotta
about
get out
it
from underneath
is
this
that
rock.
the
Okay.
the person who people talk about most was a girl who's basically like, which is very fascinating because she ended up looking kind of silly, but at the same time, I don't know if you know
little bit.
this, but it would be like this, right? Where you're like, all right, so Luan's gonna be there, and I'm gonna try and creative skateboard my way into beating him. You're like, I don't think you will. This girl was like, whatever, I'll just do something fun and memorable for me because I'm not gonna. This lady was like, I am not gonna win.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go out there and do some stuff that why not? And boy, what she chose was kind of like for the
A little bit
public's opinion,
avant-garde.
truly like we'll show you, and you'll be like, oh, she did some log rolls. Okay, well.
Yes.
But I think she truly like if you hear her opinion, she's like, what was I gonna do against the baddest in the world?
That's awesome.
I'm representing this company or this country. Like, what could I
Yeah.
possibly do?
They're like, get in there, champ! like, just,
Yeah,
just
we're
throw her
just-
to the wolves. Like,
yeah.
that's
What
wild.
country was she?
Australia.
Australia.
Yes.
She did, in fact, I believe, kangaroo jump in the middle of her line.
Yeah,
She's
and-
Got to
like,
represent, man.
It's like the
Routine.
easily the most memorable, like,
Yeah,
thing
talked about
of the
probably.
entire Olympics.
Yeah.
hands down. Like,
hands down.
hands down. Like,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But
yeah.
and she just knew. She was like, come on, I'm not going to, why bother? You
Yeah.
know?
That's funny.
Yeah, that is interesting. I never like heard her say anything about it, but yeah,
Yeah.
It's like immortalized.
I
forever.
can't
awesome,
remember
actually.
where I heard or
I mean, from
saw.
what you're telling me.
I mean, you could look it up super quick, but yeah. But the Olympics it's kind of polarizing in that effect of like, it really does take from and just go, all right, well, let's get it in there. It's awesome. We love it. And then, but it's interesting that it never generates more money for it. It never all of a sudden, we're in the Olympics, so now at Tampa, they give away thousands of, like,
Right, yeah, it's
yeah,
not
that's it.
helping build
Obviously,
up
it
the
didn't, wasn't
sport
monetary
as an
if it did
entirety.
anything.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is there like a solution to like fix the industry? Like, is the
I don't
industry
think
is
so.
like burning?
I
It's like
mean-
burning. Like,
Yeah, I think
The-
I was bitter about this a little bit, or
Yeah.
maybe a little defensive because I've been guilty of this. But like, I've heard him talk on the Nine Club and other podcasts where these small, everybody can have their own skateboard
Right.
company now, and
Yeah.
it's kind of hurting the industry as a whole. And I understand that, and I could see that, but at the same time too, it's called free enterprise.
yeah,
and
just competition.
I mean,
little
you're in
Billy
the
doesn't
United
have
States.
yeah, little Billy doesn't have to buy Johnny Johnson's
Yeah.
local skateboard company that he just sold to the shop. He can still get the baker, he can still get the toy machine, he can get the zero deck.
Mhm.
It's his choice.
Yeah.
So I wonder about that sometimes, like how debilitating
truly.
is it?
Because if you line all those things up and you go, all right, here's girl, here's chocolate, here's whatever, here's these other boards, it is a free for all on what you choose,
Yeah.
right? And if these aren't doing well, and they go, oh, Billy doesn't buy them, and then we're back to the main ones.
Exactly.
Right.
If no one's buying those, then you would be at the main ones.
Right.
Yeah.
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 So it's just ultimately the market's self-correcting in a sense. It's like
Mm,
right now before like 90s there was like we have Vision, we have
Right, pal.
Powell, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
we have Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't
And-
need to choose much.
No,
Right.
you didn't have
You
a
know?
choice. There's like
Yeah.
these are the companies that were
Yeah.
producing
You could not have a
products,
skateboard.
or you could make your own skateboard,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, which people did forever. And it was a
Yeah.
point where there was no industry, and the industry was people doing their own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
it's kind of like went from DIY up to like super stratified, centralized industry. Now it's going back down that loop of
Yeah.
like people doing their own stuff, making their own boards, like board pusher, making your
Yeah.
own graphics, like small companies like what we were doing, trying to make our own stuff.
Yeah.
And then it's gonna probably just ramp up where like all these companies fade off and die, and it'll probably happen like 3 or 4 years, I think, and then it'll start ramping up. Like whatever's popular and cool in 3 or 4 years is probably just gonna corner the market again, and then probably just be this zigzag or whatever.
And I think it'll never. What's cool about it, and I feel bad for anybody that's a professional skateboarder and that is constantly dealing with the struggle. And if you're not, that's awesome, and I'm wrong.
Yeah, and we don't
That's
know
so
you.
sick. Yeah, but people
no
that
idea.
are constantly, grinding, no pun intended or pun intended, and trying to just do whatever they can to survive and continue to do what they love. And even if it gets harder or it gets a little less strenuous, it's kind of rad in the way that it's just constantly, these persons, people, whatever, are having to grow and adapt and figure it out. And if they can stick with it, it just makes it that much better.
Yeah.
It's easy for me to say, but being in the thick of it and just dealing with it, whether you're a company owner or a pro or wherever your position is, if you're relying on it as some sort of job or financial support, you're just gonna have to grin and bear it or get out.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, in a way, it's kind of a beautiful thing, as hard as it is to say.
It is, but also too, it's in no way not shadowed by skateboarding itself, right? Which is you go out, try to get a clip, and then you don't, and then you go back or you don't, right? It's like everything else. Like skateboarders running companies and then it being super hard that should be pretty relatable
Yeah.
to what you're
100%.
already doing on a
You're
skateboard.
100% right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, it's just as far as like professional athletes go, like, dude, like golfers, football players, basketball players, it's like crazy. They're at the top of the world, making hundreds of millions of dollars, and it's like, oh, this best dude, my favorite skater, is like living at his mom's house, or
Yeah,
totally.
Well, it would be different too if like no one ever made any money. Like sports don't make money, right?
Yeah,
you'd be like, okay, cool. At least it's equal. That's sick. So we'll just do it because we love it. But problem is when all the money is over here,
right?
And not over here, then you're like, that's crazy.
But I mean, skateboarding is like multi-billion-dollar industry globally, right? There's like actually a lot of money in skateboarding, isn't there?
Or peripherally, anyway. Enough that we think that's there.
Yeah,
I don't know
and well,
where
even if it is, that doesn't mean it's getting
it's not
trickled
getting
out to
dispersed
these
in that way.
participants or people that are making it what it is. Unfortunately,
Right.
It's just we're almost starting to go in circles here, or at least I am, with the concept of. And then trying to, like, are we trying to solve an issue here?
No, I'm just kidding. Chatty.
I'm just kidding.
Like, we don't got no answers. I
I'm
don't
totally
think.
kidding. But yeah, I don't.
But it is
But
nice. But here's the thing: it is nice to pick it apart to see what's where.
Yeah.
To go, oh, well, that's cool. Like, or that's because I mean, at a certain point, you're totally right. And we'll have this conversation again in 4 years and be like, now look,
Yeah.
Like, huh.
Yeah, it's gonna be completely different.
Yeah. Well, and I think what this is a random side theory, but I think COVID did a lot for people's expectations. Like, oh my gosh, everyone's buying skateboards. This is incredible. It's all gonna be fine. And then when COVID quit, they were out of stock, right? Everything got sold out. Everything was awesome. They were worried about getting more stock. And a lot of people, I think, did restock. Like, dude, we're on an upsurge. And then all of a sudden, they're like, we have all this stuff. Like, yeah, we're back to work. And they're like, we have all this stuff. I'm like, what do we do? Where that, I think, is also, it did a weird tanking effect on the industry.
Maybe the industry's still recovering from that.
Yeah, thinking you're going to sell more, and then one day it just died. And people are like, yeah, we're just not buying boards anymore like that, Because a lot of people had a lot of free time there for a little while.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think outdoor sports in general.
Oh no, they did all of it. I am all inclusive of everything outdoors.
But yeah, now you see like you could never even like think of getting an account with Schmidt Sticks, and then post COVID they're like, we'll do your 200 board order for you, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's the same within stunt industry. Guys that have been on movies for absolute years, you never see them in LA anymore. They're just gone. They're like, I don't know, I'm in Kurskakistan. I don't know when I'll be back. And even those guys, there'd be tiny little jobs come up on like, stunt listing or whatever. Like, what's up? Oh yeah, did you hear about it? And they're like passing it over, just thinking, they're like, yeah, maybe we could all go to lunch and just talk about it. And it's like a
funny.
tiny job that you're like, okay, you know.
just take
But
it
it's like-
whatever you can get.
Yeah, it's like desperate times, especially because in like also parallel is in Los Angeles. The movie making there is just kind of bye, you know. 'Cause
Oh, yeah, they're going.
too many taxes, too many everything. People are too proud filming there, and therefore everything is going out everywhere else. And Netflix, of course, is making sure that they do it other places.
Right,
you know?
and yeah, like same thing with like Hollywood, right? It was like this super like pinnacle, like
Oh, yeah.
top down kind of we control all entertainment. There's only television, there's only movies, we own it all. We get to pick who's gonna be in this club.
Yeah, monopolizing.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And then it's like,
Just
oh
falling
shoot,
apart.
like it's like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Like
Totally.
Mhm.
That was a really good illustration. I like
Yeah,
that.
actually, but Netflix and stuff like that. It really is funny though, because like you're saying, smaller skate companies, it's totally equivalent. Because like all those smaller companies that can make movies now, because they don't need any of that excess of like having a huge soundstage and all that stuff. When you can just like, I mean, Netflix and has moved way out of that. You know, they've started huge places that just don't. I mean, Atlanta's been huge for a while. you
New
know?
Mexico and
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Albuquerque.
just anywhere, but because people are so, dude, this, like, if you were like gonna rent this in LA, dude, you could charge 10 grand a day just for people to sit in here and talk.
anybody 10 grand I'll do 7 grand a day.
Yeah.
But it's
Seven
just great
five.
what people like the corner store that's just pure garbage. You walk in and like, hey, I just wanted to film a short film here. I don't really have a budget. I'll give you some money. You're like, yeah, totally. Just give us like 5 grand for 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And like people are just so proud in LA
Wow.
that at some point you got to say bye bye to what's not working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
But
know?
then it's going like I said, it's going the other way too, because you have like Mr. Beast, and then
Yeah.
he's like now he's like becoming like this new establishment, and other like YouTubers that started out like down
Yeah.
here, and now they're kind of putting themselves up here,
Mhm.
right? And then eventually it's they're gonna have to do a lot to maintain that, because
Yeah.
there's gonna be
Yeah.
so much
Overhead.
competition, and
Yeah.
Sure.
but now they're the ones spending multi-millions of dollars. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah, and they're at a different bracket too, because it's not classic entertainment.
Right.
It's a YouTube video that sort of has grown into something else. Squid Games, kind of a amalgamation of that stuff, where the ideas aren't the same as a game show, but they're not that either.
Right.
Which is fascinating to see where that lands between the two.
yeah, and so
Yeah.
there's like all these similarities of kind of like how all these different power structures are kind of going through just having these real hard time like maintaining their
Well, yeah, and
their
you're-
structure.
You're wrapped in an economy that's now doing this.
Uh-huh.
No, I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know.
Well,
Is
then
it the
too-
end of the world? I don't know. You know?
Well, if you think of the concept of like how Mr. Beast it makes money or whatever, like it's still like if you asked me to break it down, I'd be like,
Yeah.
I don't what? I don't get it.
Neither do
I don't
Yeah.
understand.
That's his power, is that he gets it.
Yeah,
to a,
right,
to a
and it
degree.
works for him.
Yeah, yeah.
Just because maybe it's just my limited amount of experience and my unwillingness to break it down and find out exactly how that works, because it already irritates me anyway.
Oh yeah.
And I'm once again old grumpy man with I'm like
You have to play that
technology.
character. You have to commit to it.
Yeah, but the
time.
concept too of like, yeah, supposedly he gets so many views and then YouTube pays him because viewership.
Well,
and
it's
blah,
technically
blah, blah.
viewership per how many ads he has on his videos. Longer videos, more ads.
Okay, so
more
so on
ad
and
breaks.
so forth.
But it's basically the best thing and the worst thing about the internet. If you remember YouTube back in the day or whatever else, you're like, this is so sick. I can just click through and watch whatever I want, and there's no commercials. Because as a kid watching TV, and you're like, oh my gosh, there's just so many. You're like so annoyed, right?
Yeah.
They took it away, like, oh, it's the internet. And then people realize, oh, you can't make any money. So then they start throwing
Yeah.
ads back in. So if you have a 20-minute video, you have more spaces for that where people make those videos because of
Yeah.
that. You know,
And I
and
guess
it's
that makes-
sponsorship and all the
right.
stuff that he has anyway.
It makes
That's why
sense.
you guys are here for this 3-hour interview.
Yeah,
so we could get that
I bet
ad
you could
revenue.
fit like 30 commercials in this thing.
I know, isn't that great?
Yeah,
They're all going to be
yippee.
for video games, we hope.
Yeah.
See, the trick is you buy ads for your own
Yeah, totally.
stuff in your own video.
They
and
just
you
can't avoid
double,
you the
double
whole time.
dip.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I know,
You're
we're not-
paying
we're not-
and getting paid. It's just a huge circle.
Yeah,
You're like,
yeah.
hey,
You're like, oh
we're
wait,
getting money, but also
unlimited
we're paying
money
for it.
glitch.
Wait.
Yes. Okay, we figured it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so super interesting. So yeah, we kind of like, what about like you growing up skateboarding? Like, where did that Shad told me how he found his skateboard in a creek. Did you guys share that skateboard, or did you get your own skateboard?
I don't think it was that bleak. I don't remember that story. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
we lived in that trailer park, Parkside Shores.
Yeah.
Was that what it was
Yeah, I
called?
think so.
It's
I couldn't, like, if
hilarious.
you were to tell me what it was called, I wouldn't know. But you saying it, I can confirm.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. It was out in the woods, and it was in a creek. It was so haggard. I don't think it hardly
And
rolled.
if fully, we're saying board, like, full setup.
Setup, yeah, complete.
And
No
you remember
grip
this
tape.
skateboard?
I don't. What did it look like?
It looked like rotten wood, and I think
No
the wheels
graphic
were-
left.
No, yeah, no.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
wheels were
Right.
red and
Okay,
they
cool.
barely rolled.
Mm-hmm.
But
Oh,
yeah.
no,
But
no,
you
no,
were all,
no.
I was probably
I was quite a bit young. You know, I'm
Yeah.
4 years younger than him.
Uh-huh.
So I probably was like 3, 4 maybe.
It's like-
when we lived in Parkside Church, 'cause we moved out of there when
Really?
I was 4.
Oh really? Dang. So I've been
Five,
telling
I
people
don't
this
know.
whole time that I just kind of throw a blanket on it. I started skating when I was 10, but it was probably really closer to 7. But
Yeah, but
it's
here's the
less
thing.
embarrassing
How s-
if you say if you get rid of some years.
Well, here's the thing though, technically though, I mean, no, I don't think I was in school before we moved to the new house that we were fixing.
Okay, all right.
So I
Well,
assume
anyway.
that was 4, not 5.
Yeah.
Anyways, but
That
also
was-
too, how seriously you were skateboarding.
Right,
on
that
a
was my first
skateboard
exposure.
you found
I
in a
guess.
river. I don't know, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Right?
So.
I don't know if that's real skateboarding. To find
Maybe
in a
not, but
river
it
and
was
then-
enough to cause me to become completely infatuated with
But
it.
I do remember at some point our dad took care of the community pool there in the middle of, which it's fascinating that it was both a trailer park and there was a pool
Yeah, it was-
area.
yeah.
There was a clubhouse pool area. I was like, who paid for that?
Yeah.
Anyway, but you used to skate there on a very old school board, I remember. But did he still take care of it when we moved to the new house?
No, but I do remember skating there, and I had a Veriflex that I saved up for. I put it on layaway at Kmart. It was like $58,
So
but it took
sick.
me a couple months to save up for it.
What were you doing to save up the money for it?
Anything,
Everything.
yeah,
Our
rake-
parents made us work very young.
Uh-huh.
Seriously.
But the fact that they provided opportunity to
yeah,
make
indeed,
money,
indeed,
that's-
indeed. That was sick.
yeah.
Yeah, that was sick.
But yeah, I remember raking leaves at my grandma's and whatever else I could. But I was trying to learn how to ollie there at the pool,
And he could 180.
but I
like,
couldn't
he would-
ollie
He
straight.
would ollie.
Yeah,
you
the
know,
old
he would
body
turn
jerk.
ollie.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
But anyway, there was this older kid. His name was Brent, and he would come up and he's like, "Oh, let me show you how it's done or whatever." And he'd ollie, and I swear, obviously, when you're a kid,
Little kid,
it's
yeah, the
exaggerated.
scale
But
is-
I'm like, he's ollieing like this high. He was probably ollieing like this high, but they were proper ollies, and I was just like, "You can do that on a board," and it just totally set me off in a good, like, just stoked me
Yeah.
to continue to try to learn how to learn or
Yeah.
learn how to properly ollie.
You know.
But
what?
anyway.
Yeah. Collectively, the same guy he's talking about. I was always questioning that, but then I was like, so let me get this right. Your family lives somewhere else, probably nice, but you come to visit this trailer park in the summers.
Oh, yeah, they had like a lot and they would camp out all summer. Basically, like they bring their RV and a
I
couple
assume they had a
tents.
nicer
They had like
house somewhere.
6 kids. But yeah, it was a weird, very
Anyway, I just wanted to throw that part of the story in there because I was like, you vacation where we live in the trailer
Yeah.
park? What?
True.
Also, where did you learn to ollie like that? Like, I assume it's somewhere better than this.
yeah.
I had so many
Funny.
questions that never got answered, for sure.
Let's get right on the line.
But yeah,
Yeah.
so I was
He
I was totally
proper.
into skating. Sorry, dude.
No, not at all.
And William had really no interest in it at this point, nor did my other brother.
Mm-mm.
And they didn't get into it until probably a few years later, and it's probably because I forced them to skate with me because I wanted somebody to skate with so
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah,
And
he did. Yeah,
I'd
there
step
was some-
boards up for him.
Yeah, like he
Yeah.
would. In fact, this is a hilarious story. For like when I started trying to like film stuff, like go out and film, even advocate days, I would be like, "Hey, man, I broke my board," and like he would set up my boards, like that deep in the like, I forced you to do this, and now it's like going to be like your drug dealer equivalent. Like, hey, man, I need some more of that thing.
Plus, I was like, I don't think he knows how to set up a board.
No, I definitely. There was some very vague instructions being thrown around for sure. But yeah, I think at some point, literally, because we lived pretty far in the middle of nowhere, that
Yeah.
getting to see our friends, getting to hang out with other people that could possibly even skateboard. By the way, it's Texas, so probably not. That at some point his only option was like, hey, listen, You're my brothers. We live with each other. There's no one else. I got you these boards.
Yeah, I
Please."
need some buddies.
You know,
Yeah.
just anyway. And I remember being like, because I was like climbing trees, I was
Uh-huh.
just jumping off and stuff. We had a trampoline, like a rusty trampoline. That I was much more interested in just flying off the trampoline than I was skateboarding. So him talking me into it, I just remember being like, I really like you. Like, I think you're cool, and I'd like to watch you skateboard. I don't know if I should do it, but I'll try. And I remember there was curb height, whatever, stairs that went up, and they were thankfully like probably like this, so it like went up again, and then into our back porch. And just to ollie up at the one time was so scary for some reason.
Yeah.
And I was on like a Bad Boys, is that the name of that brand?
Maybe, yeah.
But it was just, anyway, it was some secondhand board, clearly from the 80s, straight from the 80s, in a closet somewhere, and then straight to me trying to figure out how to, and I was terrified to ollie up stuff.
Yeah.
Because you had to go forward and go fast.
Right.
But yeah, that was a huge struggle. But then I thought that was the same for everyone. But then he was like, I can ollie up the deck that's this high. And I was like, oh. You know, like comparatively, I was like, oh. I don't know why I didn't just quit. It was weird.
Yeah. Like that was you when you were at that age was like 9, 8?
I was probably 9. Yeah. Yeah, because
I've
I
been
was
skating for
I hadn't gotten into
years.
karate classes yet. It was all kind of around the same time period.
And you were steady skating since then, or did you
No.
kind of just like something that was off and on?
I
kind
would
of
dabble
thing?
with him, and then obviously I would like do karate and do other stuff, play in the woods.
60-40.
Yeah, and then just like, and then once he went away to school because he came up to Colorado to live with our godparents for sophomore year,
Yeah.
that I really, as soon as he left, I was like, well, I don't.
I don't have to do this anymore.
Yeah,
Just throws the complete in the trash. He's all, whew.
yeah. But it was less pressure, which I think I still felt guilty because I thought it was anything as a kid that I did that I liked. I thought it was weird to just one day quit. I thought it was very weird. Like there was something. I mean, I'm a very sentimental person, but people used to, they'd have like action figures of toys and then wanted to be like, I'm not into that anymore. But I was like, if I ever like something, I always like it. So I did feel guilty about not skateboarding in that time period. And I had a board, but I was just kind of like, it's not that motivating to do it by yourself. And we were like in the middle of Texas in this tiny slab, and my dad had like accidentally, he'd invited his friends over to like lay the concrete very cheaply, and none of them but him knew what they were doing. So there's like weird ripples in it. There's certain parts of it that they tried to brush that you just knew when to pop because otherwise you just would hit a crack basically.
Yeah, it was like a nightmare of a concrete pour. I think the sun came out,
Oh, no.
and it had been cloudy all day, and the concrete cement set up too quick, and they were fighting it. It was an absolute nightmare.
And
My dad was so bummed, but
and it was all
anyway.
his friends from the police department that were like, we'll have some beers and help you, and he's like, But anyway, the point is it reflected that. So when you would go and skate it, you were just like, okay, well, here we go. Like it just wasn't beautiful, smooth, where like your tricks were easy. It was just one of those things that I found it very hard to like be consistent at doing
And
anything.
stoked. Right?
And stoked. And yeah, I was just really terrified as a kid of hurting myself.
That's interesting. And then when did that just like go out the window?
Right, yeah. Huh?
I think sometimes, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but like a lot of times what people will do is they'll go to the extreme. So like I was really fearful as a kid, really scared of like even ollie up a curb, hitting my shin. I was just terrified of it, right? Like for years. He used to ollie off the deck, and like I said, and it was probably like equivalent of a 3-stair, but there was a gap about this big that went straight to the ground, and then it was probably a drop here. You could never fall in there. But I used to roll up to that thing, and just because I could see it, if it was a 3-stair, it wouldn't be. But mentally, I just could not get around it. It took me so long to ever ollie off of that. And I think what it was is I was so mad at myself for having a higher danger. Like it's almost like it's like the governor on like a golf cart where it can only go so fast. The governor on mine, like, do not jump off of there, you will die, was turned up very high as a kid, where I was just like, oh, I don't know, right? And I have all this anxiety around it that I think it made me so mad that I then cranked it. I was like, oh, you're, where you're not on your own team anymore. You're like, look at this loser. He can't even jump off the thing. That I became extreme the other way because I had something to compensate for. Where normal people are like, oh, I just don't feel like jumping off there. I just don't like it. I was like, well, I should. I'm watching him shredding off this thing, kickflip, heel flip, whatever. That I was like, when you're standing next to someone who's like, it's not like we're all theorizing, like, I think someone could kickflip. I'm watching a dude do it, and then I'm terrified to even go off of it. I was like, something doesn't make sense here, And I think it really pushed me to the extreme the other way, where I got so upset about feeling a little powerless in being able to do it that then I was, obsessed about it.
Yeah, and that's one thing that was wild because we were skating a lot, kind of when you were filming your advocate part, and with Josh and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and like
Bless him.
yes, for sure, forever. But I was noticing like you're pretty intense, like when you're skating, bro. You know what I mean?
What do you
Like,
mean? To say the least.
right? And so like it's interesting hearing that perspective of how timid you said you were when you started compared to how, like I said, how intense you were when you're actually skating. And it would always
Yeah.
blow my mind because I'm like, dude, is like Williams like throwing himself at this thing. I'm like, does he think he can do this, or is he just gonna willpower this idea he has through whatever he's doing?
Mhm.
You know, and is
Yeah.
it like
Yeah.
is this just real confidence in your skill to actually do what you're thinking, or are you just gonna like manifest this through sheer willpower?
Yeah, and I do think it was watching him do it in a way that obviously he was trying hard to. But when I was a kid watching him skate, which seemed pretty effortless, that there's something so baffling about it that I was then like, it's almost like it was like fake confidence, like oh, my brother could do that, that I like had that somewhere. That I'm like, yeah, my brother could do that. It's awesome. And I was like holding on to this confidence, but I was like borrowing because it certainly wasn't mine. And I think at some point between college and like the rest of my life of like doing nothing with myself, I was like, you're gonna have to pull the trigger on something here. And I'm like seeing it done well. And yeah, he has his limits too, stuff he doesn't want to do or try or whatever else. But still, I was like, man, if I tried my hardest from now on, what does that look like? Because I've already not tried and I just wasn't I was like, this is just not satisfying. I'm like not good at any of this stuff. I can just kind of do it. And it just didn't feel good. Where really all those years, like where I just kind of quit skateboarding, did karate, whatever else, and I think that I was making up for lost time. So even during the advocate video, I was way out of my depth skill wise and otherwise, but because I thought like I've seen my brother do it, he films videos, I really look up to him. I just whatever he's doing, I want to be on board with that. I'll just take whatever limited skill I have and just do something, right? Because I thought, wow, I'm just out of time. Like I should have practiced when I was younger. I should have built up 2 stairs, 3 stair, 4 stair, but I don't really like I just didn't do that. Oops a daisy. And then there was something kind of manic about me just going like, whatever, I'll just do it now. I'll just do it live. I'll just try like I'll yell a bunch and I'll get because really you're capable of like if it were an emergency and this place were on fire and we're like we're gonna get all these machines out of here, you're like, well, that's probably too many. You'd be surprised what you'll do when there's a fire. That I just put myself on that and was like, well, whatever, dude, I'm not gonna be a nobody. I gotta do something with my life here. This is the closest thing at hand to me. My brother's around, he's already filming with people. I'm just gonna desperately go out, and when they're not, and when they're sick of they want about to go home, I'm just gonna get in a couple of shots at this and see what happens,
And that's crazy because that's like hearing that is pretty much in my mind like a perfect representation of how I firsthand like watched you actually skate.
Yeah. I was gonna chime in too.
Yeah, please.
I think some of that intensity
Hold on,
and like
a quick.
self just like freaking out and whatnot was like a result of maybe the lack of confidence or like the lack of balls, if you will, or whatever. But you were coping with it and making it happen.
Yeah,
and that's what it even if that's what it took.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yeah,
because I think naturally my timidness around that like falls around certain things that probably wasn't in my wheelhouse. There's probably other stuff in my wheelhouse,
right?
But I think because I really looked up to you and what you were doing, I just picked that wheelhouse. Do you know what I mean? I could have been a much better dancer than this. Come on.
That's awesome.
Something smooth, something not too harsh.
Right, or less
right,
scary.
Because I can articulate things, right? Like I have a decent body flow. I'm not super jerky. That there's stuff that I probably could have done but I was so into what you were doing and I was like, that's my old brother used to be. that I was like, no, that's gotta be, like, it's just gotta be this.
That was your first mistake.
Yeah, well, but you know what's cool too is it gave me a lot of opportunity to hang out with you, which I loved. You know, like because
Yeah.
looking up to you, coming to Denver, being in high school, coming to Denver, and then seeing you on TVs at skate shops, where it wasn't like, hey man, we got this video at home. Watch, my brother's sick. I'm like, this is randomly playing. These guys don't know me. I've come into the boardroom or whatever, and
Yeah.
it's just playing on the TV. That was a huge influence. That I'm like, dude, he in my mind. I'm like, he made it. We were just on a slab in Texas.
That's awesome.
You know,
Yeah.
I was like, this dude is this shop of no. And of course, I was like walked in the shop and wanted to be like, I know that. And then I just realized how not cool in my mind, how not cool that would feel to say that. I was like,
That's hilarious.
this
Yeah.
part is sick. Like, I don't know him. Who cares? But really, in my mind, I was like, this dude's the baddest. You know. So I
That's
think
awesome.
that just had such like it really resonated with me that was such a benchmark of like succeeding that
Yeah.
I found it unavoidable to not try it.
Yeah.
Even though I think we all know that I you know when you're like, and this is what's cool too is like him bringing me on missions, right, where there's a lot of, and whether he claims credit or not, there was a lot of like, hey, my brother's coming, just try to,
Be nice to him.
if you don't look, you know, and
Yeah.
bless him, like, and I get it too, because that's like when you bring in someone that you're like, they're awesome in this circumstance, but here in this stressful situation where we might all get kicked out, it's not time for yelling. And we used to have to, right? He'd be like, hey, dude, I love you, but don't yell. We're obviously going to get kicked out. And I was like, yeah, cool. And then because I was so scared, I couldn't not yell because I was terrified to try something.
Yeah.
And therefore I was caught between that, like, yeah, don't worry, brother. And also like, you know, but I wanted it so bad that I kind of like, you know, in that middle area of like, where he's like, thanks, yeah, the security's coming, let's get out of
And
here.
then it became a normality where you're like,
just,
I can't stop him. So,
Yeah.
But it was cool that he still put in the good word. You know, I really am appreciative because he put in the good word, like, hey man, it's gonna be a little weird.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's gonna do. It'll probably be fine, but
Uh-huh.
if you don't mind, and that means a lot to me. You know, like that older brother to younger brother, where he could have been like, hey dude, I don't want to look bad. I just don't. I'm sorry. And instead, he was like, "Whatever, dude, just do your thing. I don't know what it is, but please." You know, that's
Yeah,
sick though.
it's
Even
so
that is sick.
Super sick.
Yeah,
Amazing, like actually
appreciate it.
amazing.
Yeah,
Because like so many people are like, oh, your little brother, like you don't like if you're not vibing with your little brother, like you don't not incentivized to like
yeah,
let him
Right.
tag along with you doing anything. You
yeah.
know, you
No,
know.
it was cool, man. I was so appreciative, and it's just one of those things that later on when you think about it, you're like, dude, that could have gotten super weird there. It could have just been like, hey, if it's okay, don't bring him. You
Yeah,
know?
anytime,
Yeah,
right?
it just if you don't mind, it's no offense, just don't bring. And
That
instead,
happens
I
all
just-
the that happens
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
time, all the time.
Yeah.
Like I don't like that dude. We're like okay,
Yeah.
and then you just get ostracized for
Yeah.
whatever weird reason. Doesn't even
Yeah.
have to be anything.
even legit.
No,
Yeah.
they're just like I don't like him. Like okay, I guess
Yeah.
he's not. We're not.
Right.
I like you more because this
Right.
relationship is
Blah, 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 yeah.
more beneficial for me than
Yeah.
this one. So it's easy for me to just
yeah,
send you to the wayside for my own personal advancement potential. You know,
yeah,
and
totally.
like especially as skateboarding is so social. Like in the
Mhm.
hierarchy,
It is.
it's
Oh,
like
dude.
so it's everything.
So
Like if you're
full-
not the cool guy, you could be the cool guy and get everything in the industry without being the even close to
yeah.
a good skateboarder.
Indeed,
know what I
and
mean?
it's been proven many times.
For sure.
You know? But yeah, I thought that was cool that and I've never confirmed it with him, but even like getting on the shop or getting on Advocate or whatever else, I always assumed this, like from the beginning, that like my brother walked in there and was like, listen, just put him on. Okay, look at me. Put him on. And here's the thing though, for me though, I was so desperate to just do anything because college didn't work out and other stuff. I just couldn't. I was like, no, nothing seemed sick to me to even do that like any version of me getting on, like, I don't know, did you pay someone? That's fine. Because I was so excited to be there. You know, I was just
for sure.
so psyched to be there. And then in one of the Way of the Warriors or something, one of the crews purposely made fun of my tricks, like in their thing, right?
Mhm.
And you know what I was thinking about that? You noticed me.
You noticed
This
it.
is sick. You noticed me?
Yeah.
There's so many talented people in Denver,
Right.
so many awesome crews that I was like flattered that they even like remembered my footage.
Right.
And of course, there, later people are like, I can't believe they did that. I was like, whatever. At least
Yeah.
I'm not invisible.
Yeah.
You
That's
know?
awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I was psyched.
That's great. I think that's like that kind of perspective and coming like kind of listening to how you're saying like that kind of attitude. I think that kind of attitude is probably gotten you pretty much everywhere you've gone.
Yeah.
You know what I
Well,
mean?
and I think for me too, my self-awareness, knowing, because I don't know if anybody knows this, but I never sent out any sponsor me tapes because I was like, I looked at my footage, right? And then you look at everyone else's footage and you're all, I mean, they're just not like each other. Not in a bad way, that I never wanted anyone to have to make the tough choice of being like, listen, dude, we don't know what this is, but no.
Yeah.
Not in a
Yeah.
bad way, but just in the like, hey, let me save
That's
you the
funny.
confusion
Yeah.
around that.
Uh-huh.
And therefore I never did. And I remember Burnett, like after, I had gotten that article in Thrasher and I was hanging out in California with him and Stutes, just getting in the back of the cart. Somebody's like, well, I could probably, I saw you wearing Nikes or whatever in there. Hey, do you want me to get you some Nikes? And I was like, no. And I was like so unaccept because I just thought, and I think that's an important thing within yourself is to be on your own team. But sometimes all of us are like, well, I'm not sure what I'm doing is a good thing. I'm a little bit insecure about it. So people bringing more attention to it, you think it's going to bring more people disliking it.
Negativity.
Yeah, where after that Colorado part dropped and Shad and I were just kind of having fun, I was really put all my energy into the Advocate video because in my heart, I just wanted to ever get sponsored. I was not, at no point was I like, I know I'm gonna go pro at skateboarding. Like never. Do you know what I mean? My standards for myself are very realistic. Like I'm just not, right? So after I made that, and then he and I were like, hey dude, sorry we got a deadline. You got on the Denver shop, we got this deadline coming up, and I was like, yeah, that it was more of like creative, fun, interesting, like just whatever I wanted because all my pressure was off to ever I felt like my life is complete. I made a video part and someone sponsored me at some point.
Right.
Like I've done it.
Yeah.
Like I didn't really. So Colorado was like very much an extra thing to me. And then when it came out and people were very mean to it, and I'm deeply sensitive. Like yeah, I might be like slightly autistic, but also. It hurt my feelings that people.
He's not really autistic.
I mean, okay, but you have those moments and you're like, well, maybe. Anyways, but
Just
really,
for the record.
no, indeed. Sorry, everyone out there. You know how you feel sometimes. But yes, in that time period, people were so mean about it or whatever else that it really hurt my feelings. And therefore, when Burnett brought that up, I was playing the audience like, no, this guy doesn't deserve it. We're really. If I could go back in time, the coolest part is like being on your own team about something is the ultimate confidence. Like I could be wrong, but you know what? For now, yeah, I did it. It was me, right? And I think that is the lesson that me now. That's why, dude. Normally, you make a video part, you're like, I'm gonna go do my own premiere for this video. Themes, right? Like you're like, wow, okay. But I would also, in a certain way, was making up for the fact that I just didn't accept myself. That, dude, too bad. That's just Colorado's what you wanted to make. You had a lot of fun, and your brother helped you make it. Like, just, that's where, I should have just accepted myself and be like, yeah, give me some, oh, you think I deserve Nikes? Give me some Nikes. Why not, right?
Yeah.
Because the truth is even in that bracket, at some point they'd be like, oh, we don't mean it anymore, and then I don't get any more shoes. But saying no to yourself for other people, like, that's a non-acceptance. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
So me now, anytime I meet anyone ever else, they're like, oh, you're the flip guy. I'm like, you betcha, a bunch of flips. You want to see one? Right? Because at least you're committing to who you are instead of pretending you're both. That's the thing. If I didn't make that video part, right? But I did. I made me.
Yeah.
Where you're like, dude, you did it. At some point you liked it. It's okay to like that stuff. It can be in the cheesier realm. People can think it's like, oh, it reminds me of Jin Kata. It reminds me of whatever it is. The point is, you also watched it.
Right.
And a bunch of people did.
Right.
So just accept the fact that whatever you have going for you is that, and just go with it. Why not? We're going to be dead soon.
Yeah.
It just won't matter.
Right.
Right?
That's Reynolds' perspective too.
It just
like
won't.
you're the frontside flip guy.
Yeah.
Just own it.
Yeah.
Flip
And he
guy.
does it. And I wish that I had accepted that sooner and just went with it because I wouldn't have had to work so hard this late to like, oh yeah, you're right. I should really take that on and do that. Because then that new video part, if you watch that part, you're like, wow, he really is he's doing the flips, you know? He's committed, and he's like filling in the blanks of, I wonder what he's up to. He's flipping off of stuff, you know? That's that new video part, because I really wanted to be self-accepting for myself to go, dude, if that's what you like, just do it.
Yeah.
Don't dilly-dally around maybe or put some in there. Right. If you want to do a lot, just do a lot. Who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of nice to have a niche where...
Oh, no, do not get me started, by the way, on how hard it is to make anything new and interesting now.
For sure. Yeah.
It's so hard.
It's almost impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's nice that you found a place where you got your own little zone. Like, there's not really...
and that you're happy with it.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah. You and, like, almost nobody in the industry, almost. In the whole wide world can have, like, something just their own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, maybe, like, Rodney Mullen for, like, 30 years was, like, in his own realm. And,
Yeah.
But even now, like, freestyling is...
Well, but everybody's... Yeah, and everybody's good at skating.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. They are.
Like, it's actually more of a rarity to see somebody skate and you're like, it's not that. It's like everybody can, especially if they're involved in the industry or they're filming parts or whatever. It's, you know, that's what it is. So to maybe do something a little different.
Yeah.
And I think for the sake of standing out, you know, and I don't want to speak for you, but for the concept of doing it for you and doing, you know, what makes you happy and challenging yourself and stimulating yourself and hyping yourself up. You know, if other people enjoy it, that's an awesome byproduct.
Yeah, indeed. But it took a long time to learn that. And in, you know, in a lot of ways trying to emulate him, right? That what's even crazier is it's all his fault. I'm just kidding. But when we were kids, I knew no one that could do a flip. Like, we maybe saw the Durinsky brothers. He's like they skated a little bit.
They were like these legendary, like, tough guy kids that we
grew up around.
Yeah.
They dabbled in skating. They definitely had Vision streetwear.
Yeah.
They looked super cool in them anyways.
They were the cool kids.
They were definitely cool. Yeah. They used to, like, cut off all their t-shirts, like no sleeves on anything. Anyways, I saw Danny Durinsky at some point off this, like, tall rail. There's a concrete barrier thing where all the stands are to watch a football game. And I remember him backflipping super tall off this thing. But besides that, he was the only person I ever saw. Like, and this is how, by the way, might not be the real story, but from my perspective as a kid, he was like, hey, I want to show you something. We go outside, and our driveway is kind of this slanted downhill. My dad would take a tractor, and then he would level it out because our driveway would get rutted out from the rain, right? So it's kind of soft dirt.
So he'd regrade it.
It, but what would happen, he's like, brings me out there, and he's probably like 13, I don't know, and he's like, watch this. And then he just does back handspring. Like, he doesn't go, let me warm up, let me see what I can do. He like back handsprings a bunch of times. He's like, yeah, I saw these girls at football practice doing it. And I'm all, and then now you just did it, huh? He's like, yeah, I can do them. And I was like, right? Like, as a kid, your imagination, you're like, what? And then I saw him do it off stumps and stuff as a kid. So all the flipping and stuff, and we had a trampoline at the house, but it was just crazy as a kid to be like, that's what's up. You can just do flips off the stuff. And even though he was like, I'm not going to do it. I'm just not. I was like, thank God. I'm going to go ahead and, you know. But yeah, it was sick as a kid. I was just so into flips because of that.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Like, yeah, it seems like you just drawing, like, all inspiration from Shad. You know what I mean? It's just like, that's
sorry.
Well, here's the thing. Here's what's cool about it is he would never do a poster about all the good thing, all the cool things that he can do, all the talent that he has.
Okay,
He's just not like
that.
Yeah. I'm
just kidding.
Oh, okay. But the truth is, like, dude, because I even remember, this is such a cool story, but he walked up to our parents one day when he was about 3, and he just handed them a picture of a duck. And they're like, who's in here? Who gave you this? Like, all worried about it. And he's like, I drew it. They're like, no, you didn't. And sure enough, left hand just drawing beautiful drawing. So being around that much talent as a kid, just like picking up stuff like that, like, I don't know how you couldn't be. Because I spent the rest of my time trying to draw Rambo, it being not a good drawing, and him being like, hey man, I really like you, but it's not a good picture. You know, like, and not in a bad way either. That's what hurt my feelings, is he wasn't being mean. He's like, you did draw Rambo. His head is the same size as his arms. I can tell that it's Rambo, but it's not like a good picture. Let me show you. And he wasn't like self-involved, like, look at my picture. He was like, well, look at this comic book cover, right? See Spider-Man, you know, he's got a thing there, right? He's shooting. right? And he drew a poster size of Spider-Man, which was so sick. I think it was from Spider-Man's next to the Punisher or something. Anyways, but he was at that level, and so me looking at that and then drawing Rambo in a way that was not, I then got obsessed, and for the next 10 years would draw every single day. Right?
He's really good at drawing.
Yes, it's
you guys both
He
good at
is.
drawing. You're not.
no,
in-
he's well. Here's the
Oh.
thing. There's only one difference, and it's just one of those patience things. He could do it, but I can draw things out of my mind to paper
I
where he
can't.
likes. It's not that he can't. He just would get too frustrated, going, "Well,
Need
that's not
I'm
how
a
I meant it."
copycat.
need reference. That's
I-
normal.
I want you to say it again, but like with no negative.
I'm a
connotation.
copycat.
Just a little, if that's okay. Just a little bit. Some slightest, not that. But yeah, he can perfectly, beautifully. I remember, and our parent, like, he would get 3/4 of the way through a drawing, and our parents would see it and like, that's incredible. And he's like, I just don't like the ear, and then he would just crumple it up and throw it away. And it was interesting to have that level of perfectionism around you, where it was hard for. And our middle brother, by the way, can draw well. Did you know?
Yeah,
He
yeah.
can draw well also, but like kind of naturally, and his sizing isn't always correct, but he's still a good drawer. But he never got obsessed with it, where I was mad. There was something in me that I felt not good enough, and seeing Shad be able to draw comic book covers, and then just because he felt like it, throw the rest away, right? There's just something so inspiring about people being capable of that. They live my room is next to his, you know what I mean? I can see it happening over there. How hard could it be? And I think that's a lot of my kind of chasing that, is because that natural talent level. Have you ever seen the movie Gattaca?
Yes.
Do you remember the Ethan Hawke in there where he's like
Yeah.
working day and night? He's going to make it happen to go to space, even though
Yeah.
he's clearly genetically not.
Yeah.
Those screaming matches with myself is a lot of that, where you're like, I don't know if you should be here, but you know what? You know?
Yeah, they're gonna find you.
They're going to figure out you're not any good at this. And I was like, if I keep screaming, I'll just jump at some point, you know?
Yeah.
But that's a lot of it. Which it's cool. It's a blessing and a curse, because I have my own version of perfectionism. I took 5 years to make a video part, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, there's also satisfaction in doing something so well for yourself that when you watch it, you're fine. That's when you know, like with perfectionism, if you have as bad as him or me, when you can watch it back or you look at it and you don't hate it, you've won.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
You've won. You've it's noticeably, there's no friction with it. You just look at it and you're like, cool. That's what I meant to do.
And that's,
you know?
I feel like in art, that's a good perspective.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? It's like when it's like, this is art. You know what I mean? This is my expression. You know, it's not like you're at a job and like, this is good enough for me.
Well,
but,
yeah,
you
or
know what I mean? It's like,
or
there's
someone cuts you off.
expectations.
Someone says, hey, you know what? That's all the time you get for that. Now it's done. you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, art is different. Like skateboarding is art. Like art is different because like at the end, you have to be, like you're saying, you have to be satisfied with your own art, and there's no there's no outside expectation. There shouldn't be, as long as you have that personal satisfaction. But that's something else, like with skateboarding, just doesn't translate to real world where you need results. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ultimately, like, and then if you want to be professional artists, like, then still it's like you have to be able to sell your art ultimately.
Right.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
with skateboarding, you never have to really do that because there's almost no incentive to even try to, because it's A, so hard, and B, there's just diminishing returns because you're only going to be relevant for so long, and you're only going to get pennies.
And a
for
lot
it
of that
anyway.
stuff won't even depend on you, how relevant you are.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. I had someone comment. I faked going back and doing Civic for my thing just for fun.
Oh yeah.
Front
And
flip.
The front
onto the
flip. What you
board.
did? I thought you did do it.
No. I mean, could I do it again? Probably.
Please explain.
But I've like practiced enough now that something like that is not out of my realm of possibility.
Right.
Like
Plus
if I
you've
want
done
to.
it already.
Yeah.
But the whole
But we basically wanted to do the cocky, like, oh, I just do this every time I come to
Oh,
Denver,
yeah.
just my warm up,
Uh-huh.
like, come to my premiere later, like,
Uh-huh.
and then, Des and I just kind of like spliced it later. I just ran and jumped to my board, or whatever.
Uh-huh.
But that was just for the promo, like the promo moment,
Yeah.
basically.
point of the commercial was comedic.
Yeah,
And
but
just promoting the.
but someone commented on there and was like, "Hey man, remember in 2011 when you were relevant?" And
Oh,
I was
man.
like, and this is awesome though, because like when you really work on accepting yourself and like, hey, that's just who I am, that I wrote back, that's so sick you ever thought I was relevant. Right, but it's
Yeah.
like one of those like cool things that you
Yeah.
like over time.
Yeah, it's
when
like,
you,
oh yeah, I was relevant in
yeah, that's
2011.
so
Hell
sick.
yeah.
Here's the thing:
Uh-huh.
is my point is what you're saying is like your relevance going in and out. A lot of that is not dependent upon you. It's dependent on like what's happening around, what tricks are going down, who's doing what. That at some point you either are or aren't relevant, and it's like a Reynolds or whoever that can survive time, or a Costin or whatever, right, or a Rally that can survive through time. That's not everyone. So those windows are what they are. So I like to accept that too.
Yeah, that's great.
I was
I
like,
mean, that's
shit. 2011. I thought it was way before that. It just went boom.
Well, you know what's cool about that too, or in conjunction with that concept, is like relevancy shouldn't make or break your self-worth anyway. You know, I understand maybe doing it on a level of trying to do it for, you know, professionally or for income or whatever.
Sure, that's literally
Obviously there's
an
a lot
outside.
more, right,
Yeah.
there's a lot more pressure there.
Yeah.
And it can challenge your self-worth, but being okay with yourself and
Well, and
go ahead.
No, just being okay with yourself in the way that, like, you know, because when I was a kid, they're like, don't worry about what people say. You're like, I'm worried because I would like to articulate it better. Like,
Yeah.
there are, like, for me and you, right? When we were younger, you're like, hey, man, I just think you should tighten your trucks a little bit. I would be like, well, your trucks are loose. And I'm like loosey-goosey trying to, like, push up the stuff and it's looking bad. He's like, just tighten your truck. That older brother to younger brother, I really harnessed that and used it. I'm like, he's right. I could definitely kickflip better than that. That got weird, right? But at some point, that must stop. And the self-acceptance, because when I was a kid, I thought people like, don't listen to them. They don't know what they're talking about. They're like, well, partially they do, or else it wouldn't hurt your feelings, right? So I like to do both. Is I like to listen to it and go, is this actually relevant though? Or
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, people will be as mad at you or as upset at you as they are about whatever's going on with them. And it's literally because making yourself feel better about it is kind of a bummer because it's fake. That's
Yeah.
all I was going to say is that's fake because you're like, don't listen to them. We're like, maybe you should because those pants are weird, right? You know what I mean? But like, there is a version of that in there that then you
Yeah.
can extract out. But I think your self acceptance on you, like, I checked into it and I feel good about that. Where later on, when I texted that guy, he said something else super mean, and I was like, hey man, I have a question. Is everything okay at home? Are you okay? Right? Because you're so angry at me about this thing that just doesn't matter that we have to then assume something goes on with you, right? Because this is just regular, like it's been happening for a long time.
Right.
Right? Because and I think that keeps your sanity. And so if your self-acceptance is in check, then you're cool because when people say that stuff, you're not like, I won't listen. You're like, I'm going to, noted. I don't think that's relevant. Cool. And then you just leave it where it is, which is great, you know?
Yeah.
Because then you're not making yourself feel better. You're in touch with reality and you're sure that it just doesn't matter,
Yeah.
you know? Which is cool. Yeah.
And then so that front flip, right? It's like one of the most iconic like moments in Colorado skateboarding history.
It's so funny that it is.
Yeah, I think so too. Because
It's
like,
so funny that, I mean, if that's true, obviously.
I
But
think it is to this day. Or is it anyone from Colorado ever been on the cover of Thrasher besides you?
that was an article. I wish it were on the cover. Sick.
It wasn't. I thought it was on the cover.
No, I
Am
I like what
am
your
I-
brand did with it.
Hey, I'm in. Because by the way, I did a running gainer for this part that Burnett shot, and I had a bunch of fantasies about that too. I mean, obviously, it's never going to happen because it just doesn't
It
make
was a
sense.
contents page though, right?
It
That
it
was weird because I could have swore I was in.
Hey, in my
I was
heart-
in Hawaii, dude, and I could swear remembering seeing you on the cover of Thrasher.
I
And
will.
maybe that was just on my little timeline and a time
Yeah.
slip or whatever. But I was wanting to ask you about being on the cover of Thrasher this whole time. I don't know why
It's
I thought you were on the
so
cover
sick.
if you
Yeah.
weren't on
Let's
it.
just
Yeah.
go with it.
Hey,
it
for
was
anyone-
issue 475.
Yeah, for anyone out there who's watching, it's in a different timeline of this reality, but it did happen. You know, like the full multiverse
Dimension
of it.
X. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it-
somewhere it did.
But it's so weird because I don't know how I would have known if I didn't see it on the cover.
Well, you know what? Then it is.
It was
Leave
on the
it to
cover.
everyone.
Isn't the on
End
the
all be all.
Yeah, no, who's going to argue with him? It's his podcast.
But yeah, that's crazy. 'Cause I've been waiting to ask you about the
That's
cover
so.
of
Hey,
Thrasher.
thank you for thinking that at all.
I'm like,
even
yeah,
that,
you're the
I-
only guy who's
even
been on the
that-
cover of Thrasher, right? And he's like, what are you talking
Yeah,
about?
that's
See,
sick.
that's what I'm talking about, like not doing the research in this.
I mean, who cares though? I mean, listen, I would have been so. You know, because that was Burnett's idea. He saw, because he's super good friends with Suits. Suits visited. He came here. I don't remember. Showed Burning Daylight, and then of course, which no one does. You know, I just end my part with like the cliffhanger of dying down the set of stairs trying it. He saw that and was like, "Listen, tell your friend that if he can land that, I'll definitely give him an article in Thrasher." You
That's
know?
crazy.
So how cool is that motivation though? Because otherwise, I was thinking to myself after I did it, like, "Oh, that was a terrible idea. That really hurt." You know? And so the extra motivation, and I remember too, Roman told me this story, but he was just like kind of on the come up too, getting a hold of Burnett. He's like, "Hey, let me shoot some guys out here." And he's like, "I got Angel, I got Windsor, you know, I got David Reyes, I got a bunch of guys I think we could get in there." And he's like, "Yeah, cool. Shoot William." And he was like, "What?" I'm sorry, what did you say?
Shoot William.
Yeah. He's
That's
like,
great.
I'm sorry, he's not on the, I sent you a list, he's not on there. Do you know that? You know? And so it's really
Shoot
funny
William.
that he was like, "Okay," you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was cool that he at least took the lead because he went out and we shot stuff over a little time period there, not too many days out. You know what I can't remember is that Caveman Wall Ride out. What is that theater?
Oh, it's on 6th and
Yeah.
what is it called? It's kind of an obscure little movie theater, but they play whatever. It's
Anyways, I think that might have been an article, and I was actually really proud of that. And I thought about it later, just because that one was a pickle that I was. We stopped by there the other day, and I was like, that was a terrible plan."
yeah, it's like an electrical box. It's probably over 6 feet tall, next to a blue brick wall.
But you got to
Still
clear
blue?
like a side. Sadly, no, it's like a bummer brown or
Bummer
beige.
brown.
Big gap, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't. I mean, I
I'd
was
say 4
surprised.
feet,
Yeah,
right?
I would say.
Yeah, caveman wall ride, and then the photo was sick.
Yeah, it was a cool photo. Anyway, all that to say, yeah, it was rad that Burnett was like took the chance and did that. You know.
Yeah, that's weird. I'm kind of like my whole
Your
world is
existence is crumbling.
Hey, you know
over
what we
Yeah.
should all do? We should get the photo, wherever it is in the article,
Uh-huh.
and then put it into AI.
Yeah, I put
Slap
it
it
on
I
the
will
card.
Thrasher cover it up.
Yeah,
real
we'll
quick.
decide
Yeah.
where it was.
Yeah, exactly.
It's got you at the bottom.
Yeah, I'm in the
VX.
yeah.
Fully indulgent.
Oh man, that sounds
Oh.
awesome. But that's crazy though. My
Yeah.
my mind is.
That's awesome that you ever thought that. Yes.
I mean, that was like. I swear I thought I remembered because I don't
Yeah.
know what. Normally I wouldn't. This was like 2005, 2006.
Ish.
Yeah, I would say 2006. Because 2000, the real pocket of Burning Daylight was what? 2004,
I think
2005?
it premiered, came out on video in 2004, and then Burning Daylight or Colorado was right after that, like
I think
not even a year.
Wow. Yeah, because I remember, like I said, I got done. We were filming Burning Daylight, and then all of a sudden, like, yeah, just so we have a video coming out for Denver Shop, and I remember you being like, "All right."
Yeah, I was so burnt.
Yeah, we were like, because he put in full effort. Like, Burning Daylight is like freaking. Have you seen that parlay? It is saucy.
No, Brain Daylight's an awesome video.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite like local videos. Like
Yeah, just so we did pay him
Travis's
Music selection.
Travis's part in that video is like one of my
Yeah.
favorite skate parts of all time.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
his
one of the
part's
best
amazing.
parts I ever.
Yeah, when you see that clip where he removed the table completely, like he had that
Yeah,
car
I think
wash.
Almanza did that. The back
Oh, yeah.
50 at
Oh,
the
yeah.
car wash.
Put
So
the green
sick.
screen.
Yeah,
Just
so rad.
on nothing.
Yeah.
That was so sick. Freaking Travis.
That was interesting too because that was kind of his like Hesh fresh. He kind of got a little.
Oh yeah, it was a
baggier.
little
still
switch
awesome.
over.
Like,
But the
still
pants
awesome.
were still small, but the shirts were a little bigger. I thought.
yeah. He was
Yeah.
going with the like double XLTs and like
Yeah.
the almost like the Booznets kit.
Oh, yeah, a little
One
bit.
Tampa.
Yeah.
Tampa running run when what was that? 06?
Yeah.
Anyway, we just watched that the other night.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Nerding
Yeah,
out
and we
on
watched
that.
full Burning Daylight.
Yeah,
It was
we
sick.
did.
Yeah, I love
The
that
intro
video.
is so rad that
Yeah.
Mark put on the.
All the music's on there, so good.
Yeah, that was a fun time.
That
But
was a
yeah,
great video.
Travis's part is rad.
Mhm.
Aren't we trying to get him on here too?
Yeah, he already said he would come on.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
That's
that'll be-
awesome.
Yeah.
That'll be people need
Yeah.
to see that.
Yeah,
It made me happy too because he got kind of like put in there later that Mark's like, yeah, come on over, be in our video. That I thought was a rad addition to it.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
totally good.
Because he was never on Burning Daylight, and I
Yeah.
don't think we have officialized that or told anybody and didn't care.
Or
Mhm.
advocate.
We're like, yeah, we're like, and if
Yeah.
he was, I'm sorry, my mistake. I
Yeah.
mean, he deserved to be, but I think he was still he might have been even getting boards from other companies.
Yeah. I mean, he was
Or
never
at
not-
company.
He was just hanging out with Josh all the time. And
Yeah, and
Yeah.
us. He'd stay at the house.
Yeah, that was the coolest part about it. It just seemed like worlds colliding, where we're like, "You're here now. Here we go."
Yeah, I think it's funny because he's kind of a quiet, introverted person, but he was down to hang out with these goofballs. They're like,
Yeah, that was the funniest.
Yeah.
And you know what? There's a lot of parallels because when Kirchart hangs out with Tom and those dudes, it's like comedy, funny guys, cool, hilarious guy. That he doesn't hang out with tough guys at all.
Yeah, and he
Kind
kind
of
of,
totally parallel.
yeah, because
You know, they both get down to biz like that.
You know that.
Yeah, like they like just backlipping anything in the world without looking. They're like, I'm like, oh, did you sweep it or anything? He's, no, I'm just gonna do. You're like, oh, okay, you know.
Yeah.
But it is really parallel because, dude, all the way of the Warriors stuff too. You're like, Travis, should you be somewhere else?
He's like, I guess not.
Yeah,
Like, just include me in the thing. Just make sure it says T-Law and
Yeah.
the God Squad.
yeah, and we're like, you drove down here, right?
Yeah.
We didn't bring you.
Yeah,
here.
we didn't
And he's
come
like-
to your house.
He's like a Satanist, like almost, right? Or
Yeah,
he's
like, just definitely not.
not
Yeah,
into
yeah,
not into Christianity
No.
at all.
Yeah.
Well, that was one thing I wanted to ask you in your interview, and kind of both of you guys, is like, how did you guys feel about like being Christians, like in skateboarding? Like, what's that like being not like super outspoken, but everyone knows that you're a Christian. Everyone knows that
Yeah.
that's what you're into, and you know that not everyone is like either like hostile towards that or at least just ambivalent and
Yeah.
not caring at all.
Right.
And like, how does that play into like just your perspective on skateboarding and skateboarders and that whole dynamic?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, the whole dynamic.
I guess, I mean, it's like anything. I mean, the world in general, too, you know, it seems like is maybe, if not indifferent, you know, maybe more so in the skateboard world because it's this rebellious punk rock concept. But, yeah, I don't know. Over the years, I've, you know, not that I've ever worried about it much, but, I feel like it's a misunderstood concept in the first place.
Oh, indeed, yeah.
And then secondly, you know, while I'm not necessarily extremely outspoken or evangelistic, I love to have conversations with people that are open to it. But a lot of times there is some animosity. But usually if you can just sit and listen to somebody and
Yeah.
hear, you know, their gripes and complaints and their frustrations, it kind of helps open a door for you to be able to, you know, share and communicate your perspective on it. So, I guess, and I'm not necessarily answering your question, but
I mean, you're not answering it.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a big, broad concept too, right?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I guess the idea of just other people's, you know, I don't want to sound dramatic, but yeah, kind of general animosity towards it. But it has also, and I'm kind of repeating myself, caused me to, if I do have conversations, I try to have them go in a way that somebody feels heard, at least, instead of
Yeah.
like, yeah, well, that's how you feel. Well, this is how I feel, and we're gonna have a pissing match, and I'm gonna bring my pride into this because that's the absolute opposite
Yeah,
of
totally.
Christianity.
You're like, that's
you know?
literally not it.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's extremely unchristlike. So
Yeah. Well, I
Um,
think, yeah, and I think too, life is interesting, right? Because life is problem solving, right? And life is a lot of problems. And the way in which you choose to solve them, that's sort of up to you, right? So people who believe in something or don't believe in something often, and I think this is the Travis story to a T, is that Travis hung around people that made him feel good, right? You can call
or
it
that he
whatever
at least
you
enjoyed
want.
being around.
Yeah, but it made him feel good, made him feel like, all right, you're sick. We don't know what your program is. You're rad. That speaks so much more to like whatever's going on internally that your belief is in. If you treat people rad, you are rad. So I think that that's just it. Is the proof is in the pudding. You got Satanist guy hanging out with you, and he thinks it's sick.
And
You
we can't
did
say
it.
that he's Satanist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Listen,
He
He would probably get a kick out.
Yeah, I'm saying it because it's gonna be funny later, not because like he Travis
or maybe
knows.
anti.
yeah,
you know?
he
But
just definitely doesn't like the idea.
Yeah,
of
but he
God,
would be
right?
chuckling if he was like, "Yeah, they called me Satanist. That was sick." He won't care.
No.
Anyway, my point is though, is that I think that is where that was always. He's like, "Just say that I'm not part of your thing." You're like, "That's fine." But you hang out with us so
Yeah,
much.
you-
That here's the thing: you're down. We'll tell everyone you're not, but you are down.
Right.
Type of thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Well, I was even thinking too, even if it was for a totally selfish ambition of being able to get clips and go out and have somebody film, but I remember
He could have chosen anyone, by the way.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
him.
he could have been
He's him.
anywhere, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and that's what I was getting at.
Oh, sorry,
He
I
could have
jumped
found
in
that
here.
anywhere. I think he genuinely enjoyed, our company and vice versa.
Right,
Just
yeah.
hanging out. I remember, maybe not anything in particular, but like to hear Travis giggle at something, or like get goofy, you're like,
It was sick. Yeah, because it took a minute to get there.
yeah.
Right.
No,
Yeah,
he-
just like feeling comfortable to a level where like you feel comfortable around Travis and Travis feels comfortable around you is like it's a pretty good feeling because it's like
Yeah.
he's definitely like a reserved dude, and then when we were like kids, he was like so scary, like
Yeah, it's almost intimidating.
really intimidating dude to be around, and then
Yeah.
to kind of like 20 years later be like, oh, he's like not scary at all.
Yeah.
He's like chill and
Yeah,
funny.
yeah. But anyway, it speaks to, I think that's what it speaks to though, is that like, if that's who's hanging with you, obviously whatever you're doing, it's working,
Mhm.
and I think that's how we took it. We're like, whatever we're doing is working, sick,
Yeah.
Being a good influence on people, like, don't tell the backstory, but if you feel good around us, then rad,
Yeah.
and I think that's where it landed.
Yeah.
Because we're like everything. That's the thing. If you watch The Way of Warriors and all that stuff, you're like, these dudes are having the most fun.
Mhm.
These dudes are rad. Like that's all I like being around that. I was so psyched because it was so fun. Because sometimes skateboarding takes itself too seriously, and the irony is you can do whatever you want, but that's a child's toy.
Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah,
I'm really
100%,
sorry, but
yeah.
people do it for fun, and like you can do it professionally if you want, but really it's supposed to be fun. So it's weird when it gets too serious.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Definitely.
So I think we played that line nicely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so like you're like the most famous like stunt person of all time or something, right? Like
It's
is that
shockingly
I feel-
those photos do come up a lot online. Yeah,
I
like
didn't know that.
you
Good
didn't?
job.
thanks.
But I mean, I can't think of like I can't
It's
think of
weirdly-
another.
yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
know who
weirdly-
you are, but I
but
don't know
also-
any other stunt person that's
Yeah.
gotten as much shine as that you did.
No, well, and
I think
I'm
it's the multiverse, or like the two different worlds colliding. Sorry,
Yeah,
I didn't
it
mean to
does-
cut, but like,
no, you're right.
because you're
It does
known
help
for skateboarding
when you already have a
and-
little bit of notoriety outside of something and then go into it, which of course can garner hatred if you're not careful. Be like, oh, of course you only got that job because this isn't that. But what's cool about it is like on the bigger part, because there's a lot of stunt guys that are awesome at what they do, but that's their whole thing is to kind of disappear and just double someone and tell no one about it.
Mhm.
Where that part of it for me, I was never interested in. Where I was like in skateboarding, if you're like, so listen. So and so's getting older. He paid me a bunch of money to stunt double him in his video part, but then we're gonna release it as though it's Jamie Thomas. It's not. It's
Yeah.
just it's a 20-year-old, but we're gonna put Jamie later on,
Mhm.
right? You'd be like, well, that's nuts. That sounds terrible, right?
Mhm.
But that's most of the job. You like give away all your credit. And for me, watching Jackie Chan movies and stuff, I'm like, you know what's sick about Jackie Chan? He's not the most handsome guy you ever saw, right? He can barely speak English. And he's also saving the day, and he's hilarious. That I was like, that is definitely more my realm. I'm not trying to disappear. Like I had years where I was like, all right, let me do this stunt thing correctly, disappear, no one knows. 5 years goes by, and I'm like, people are like, oh, what have you been up to? I'm like, let me show you this footage. So this is a music. No, I'm actually that guy. Okay, not that one. Just wait. Okay, so I'm fighting a guy. Well, you can kind of see. You can obviously. I fell down this. They didn't shoot that part of it. That I realized I was disappearing. Like there was no footy of me. It was just like getting paid.
or a snippet, and then
Yeah, it's just not worth it. It's not like because when you're used to putting out full video parts for 3 minutes, that is you. You then go. So you want me to just like give away all this stuff, and then a lot of times your expertise. They go, hey, we saw you do this thing in your video. Do it in our movie. No, don't do it like that. Do it like this. The stunt coordinator thinks you should do this. And you're like, but you're watching footage of me. I already did that trick.
Yeah,
That
and
they're
it's-
like trying to augment it for you in some way that you're like, well, that doesn't make sense. So for me, the reason why I have more exposure than other people is like people will look down on paparazzi, right? Paparazzi come around set, but in New York City, fair is fair. If you can shoot a photo from across the street and also feed your family, I was friends with everyone. People came to set every day. I would just be like, hey man, how are you? What's going on? Everyone's like, don't talk. Why? So if you look at all those photos, it's me being nice to people that like everyone deserves you to be nice to them. It doesn't matter, right? That I'm just super nice to awesome people. They take awesome photos of me. I get super lucky. I'm me. So like if I do something, I show you. I keep skateboarding. I try to make sure that I go, hey, I'm trying to build up to do my own Jackie Chan movies. So for me to disappear into the ether, it's not going to do any. You're not going to be like, well, I don't want to see that guy's face. I'm like trying to be Marty McFly. You know what I mean? I'm like getting in
You got
there.
the vest and everything,
Oh,
bro.
dude, I bought this in Japan. Yeah, I bought this in Japan
That's
on
awesome.
the trip. Yeah. But for me, that's the reason why I have more exposure. Because a lot of people go, "Oh, well, just let them have the credit. We get the paychecks." But here's the thing: the paychecks, the first day you start being a stuntman and the last day you start being a stuntman, they're the same paycheck. Where from movie to movie, when I did that first Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movie, you know, he got like new money, which is like not even $1 million, probably whatever else. By the second movie, he's 2-3 million in. I'm same paycheck the whole time, trying to get my agent. Hey, can I get a little bit? I survived a whole movie and didn't die. No, you just get the same rate as usual, right? So for me, the only thing that you can do is go, okay, well then I'm going to make sure that I represent me and like people know who did what. And a lot of people are like, no, just that's not good etiquette. You know, we give away the credit. You're like in, for instance, when I cut my stunt reel, right? Well, normally you go, this is so crazy to say, but you're like, all right, so it's me falling down the stairs. It's him standing up saying something. It's me falling down the stairs again. It's me fighting. It's him. And then you go, well, I have to cut him out. I can only show the parts that are me, right? Well, if it was reversed,
Right, he'd show everything.
he would show everything.
Yeah.
So in my stunt reel, if I want to use Andrew Garfield's face to make my footy look better for a second so he can stand up and then punch the guy, I'm going to use your for sure.
Oh.
Where people would never. They're like, oh, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to use your... I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I'm the one who almost died falling down the stairs.
Yeah.
You almost didn't die saying something on film.
Yeah.
No. And so for me... That's why I have a lot more coverage than a lot of people because I have an awareness around if you're going to pay me $1 million, I'll for sure keep my mouth shut. Pay me $1 million to not die, I will. But less than that, and it's just a regular stuntman rate. So if I break my leg, you're like, here's a little bit of money. And you get, that's a hard job to then not get any credit for. That's crazy, right? So for me, I play the game now of like, yeah, oh, you want to see a superhero? Took two guys, right? They teamed up and then they made one guy that you can believe is a superhero. One of those guys isn't, and the other guy isn't. It's okay that it's a teamwork thing. So in my mind, that's how that works more. And so that's why I have a lot more, you know, coverage, people seeing me, people knowing, you know, the photos standing next to each other and all that stuff.
Right.
Purposefully, because I think it's kind of weird to not get credit for something that you do.
Yeah.
In general in life.
Yeah,
I just think it's, and not in a prideful way, but just like, it's the truth. That's what you did, and that's where you are. I don't, you know. And by the way, that's not a popular opinion amongst other people who kind of stunt people who want to keep their job and stay in line. But as the world gets more diverse and realizing that, people are less scared. A lot of people, years ago when I got in, no one would share their secrets. Like, unless you were really, no one wanted to tell you how to like pull your punches and make everything look right and fall just right and not die. Where now, every weekend there's a stunt conference on how to like charging people money who are new to like learn how to fight, take reactions, do falls, you know. All that martial arts stuff together, where it's becoming more open in that way, where now you can have people that are like, oh, that's the Jeff Raleigh of whatever, because normally there's not enough credit given out and no one wants to talk about it, and therefore no one has any notoriety. But, you know, like the John Wick movies, right? Chad Stahelski, Dave Leitch, those guys started 87-11, because they're directing and stuff now. You know them, but not as the stuntmen they were, but as directors that like kind of built their way up.
Right, and it was like, it is in Hollywood. It's like, I feel like it's kind of hard to break out of your niches, right? And like you're a stuntman, like you're in makeup, like you're a cinematographer, or you're a producer or whatever. It's not like there's very few people that are like doing multiple things, right?
Sure. Well, unless you're a true independent filmmaker, which you kind of have to play all those roles.
Right.
But no, not on a big scale, and certainly not when you're climbing that ladder. No, people can only climb the one ladder. And even when they go, oh yeah, because a lot of times what will happen is the one way people can cross over is if they go, hey, we need a bad guy to show up here drive up, get out of the car, and then get punched, but he needs to say something to the lady first. Then you get roles like that, right, where you can act well enough. But even in stunt world, earlier when I came in, they're like, hey, you don't act, you don't do anything else, you only do stunts because that's what you need to commit to. And you're kind of like, okay, whatever. Well, as time goes on, the person who wins is the person who's most versatile. If you can't jump out of that truck right now and say a line that sounds believable, you're not useful to us. Now we have to fly somebody else out here. Like, you're welcome that I've been acting, right? Because now you don't have to get another guy.
Yeah.
And so they've started to game up on that, and now they go, okay, cool. So there is some crossing over with that, but it's always the joke in the 80s. If you see that one like super gnarly Asian dude that's like in Mortal Kombat in every movie, that you're like, oh, somebody's about to die because he shows up, he says a couple of lines, and then gets shot, you know?
Yeah.
And then that consistently, there's
That's his character.
but if you were to watch like
guy who gets shot,
Big Trouble in Little China all the way through, you would see, you're like, oh my God, there he is again. And you just know it. As soon as you see one of your friends in a movie, he's like, I don't know, Tony, like, he's getting shot. You just know that. Here it comes. You can almost count it down,
That's funny.
But yeah, that's one way, like, stunts kind of crosses into acting, and then you get bigger, a lot of my friends will get bigger roles and stuff, like Jay Huron and people, like, beating up, Denzel Washington in a car or whatever it is. So, yeah. It can happen. It's just a pickle.
And it's like a trajectory where you feel like it's something that you're going to stay on this, or are you going to use this as a platform to get somewhere else you actually want to be, or is it where you at right now is where you want to be, or do you have aspirations to do something completely different? Or
yeah, I'll tell you this, and it's funny because I sometimes take, maybe it's the little brother in me or whatever, but I usually take my cues from sort of outside myself, because goal orientation for me in general, like what I want to do, small goals, sure. I can tell you some small goals that I have, but not big, broad ones like that. Where if he hadn't introduced me to skateboarding, martial arts and stuff, I've probably done more tournaments and, like, I don't know, done more of that. But even that stuff, it's not that it wasn't challenging enough, it's just not as hard as skateboarding, so it didn't really keep my interest as long. Skateboarding is one of those things where you can be good today and terrible tomorrow and have practice the whole time, right? So for me,
Story of my life.
Right?
Yeah.
Seriously. And so for me, I think my trajectory now is that got into stunt work, climbed up, like got super lucky. Andrew Garfield happened to see my skateboard videos after they chose him for Spider-Man. I had missed the audition for Spider-Man, and then he said, hey, I found this guy on the internet that skateboards like Spider-Man. I think Peter Parker should skateboard in this movie. I'm like, whatever, get him in here. And my friends were already on there, one of the other doubles. He's like, I know that guy. Like, just come on. Like, I got lucky with that stuff, right? But when I got on that movie, because of the pressures of the higher up, of the directors and everyone, they then are telling me what to do when it's my skateboarding that they want to put in their movie. And I thought, well, once you get to the top, right? Like, this is a top spot. It's a superhero movie. Your expertise, it's not like they went, hey, you're a random stuntman. We need you to fill in the blank and learn to skateboard for this role. Like, hey, that's your thing. You're the specialist here. Let's bring you in. You do flips. You do whatever, that Spider-Man stuff. And in the end, not only did they not listen to me, but most of the I just didn't even get to do anything that I really wanted to do for timing's sake. It's no one's fault. They just go, hey, how much time does that take? I'm like, well, if you go out and film a video, they're like, oh, okay, we're not going to put that in the movie. So I really am switching into like the Jackie Chan of it all and it's called Two Bellman, but I've already starred in, and then you do all the stunts, action comedy movies. I'll send them to you if you want for like to fill in the blank, but it's called Two Bellman, series of them online. Last one came out in, I don't know, 2016 or 17 or something. But we did one in downtown LA, we did one in Seoul, Korea, and one in Dubai, and they flew us out there to but that is sort of my sweet spot now, because this is the one thing I realized is like doing stunts all those years, going as far up as I could, getting as good as I can at it, audition or whatever. You're always re-auditioning. Like, we don't believe that you're any good. Show us now. Show us on this terrible ground, right? It's like everything is a demo. That for me, wanting to stay in stunts longer and then just kind of continue to be like, hey, you're a bad guy. And again, for the 5th time, no, I want to be Jackie Chan. So instead of going, and obviously the self-confidence it takes to do that, it has to be very high. For me, it's actually is that if they listen to me more in stunts and let me design stuff, really cool sequences, I've like directed Fiat commercials and stuff. Like, I've directed a bunch of viral stuff that is not skateboarding at all, right? But for some reason, that stuff just doesn't articulate in that way, where when I did those Two Bellman films, whatever, as soon as I'm the actor, right, and you go, all right, I'm going to produce this movie to make sure that these sequences that I want in there. Well, as soon as you're the actor, all of your ideas are smart and great. As soon as you can say sentences on film, you're really, really smart. You're just so, oh, your stunt ideas are incredible. And so, yeah, I'm literally, just to get the stuff I want in movies, I will now be your actor guy and be like, yep, what do you want me to do? You want me to ride a motorcycle? What do you want me to say? Just so I can do what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really my trajectory now, is like those indie, and not action movies, not John Wick where I'm the tough guy and I beat everyone up and I'm the best. Action comedy like Jackie Chan where you're like, oh, I hope he makes it. You know, like Indiana Jones. Half the reason you watch is you're like, that guy's barely punching people. I wonder if he's going to make this work. Like that sweet spot, you know? Because I think since we were kids, we've loved Jim Carrey. We love all those movies where it's like much funnier than it is serious. And like SNL for days, right? All that stuff. Will Ferrell. That I want to be in that sweet spot, but a little stuntier.
Yeah.
You know?
Rumble in the Bronx.
Yeah, where it's like scrappy though. You're like, I hope he makes it, you know? Because I don't know if you have this aversion, and I'm not sure if it's a family thing, but I definitely have an aversion to looking, like on purposefully trying to brace myself up to look cool. I like actually avoid it, I notice. Which is very, do you avoid it?
Well, Shad
No.
just naturally
I'm
looks
just
cool.
He is very, by the way, in my opinion, is very cool. Like his demeanor is very
Okay,
cool.
whoa. Back to you.
Yes.
I will testify. I think one of the things, or a testament to what you're saying, is, I feel like you've always purposely driven
Oh my.
junker,
Yeah.
and you're like, not pridefully, but you're proud to pull up to like a fancy movie set, like a busted, skated on Toyota
Yeah.
Corolla or whatever.
Yeah.
And you know why
Yeah.
you're like the star stuntman of the whole movie, because you're like, this stuff doesn't really matter, and I do not want to come off as this dude that's driving the new, I don't even,
Yeah.
can't even think of a good example, I don't know, like
Yeah.
a new H3, you know,
Yeah.
blah blah blah. So
Yeah.
I have noticed that. I think that's an obvious, or just like a really
Yeah.
one thing to point out that's kind of big, because most people in general, especially if they have money and have gained some sort of success, generally speaking in society, they're like, I'm gonna have a nice car and people are gonna know
Oh yeah.
that
True.
I'm
True.
I'm doing good, dang it.
Yeah.
And this is one way to show it, you know.
Yeah.
And that's a broad statement, but you get it.
No, it's okay.
And I've always, I feel like he's almost been on the other side where he's like, all right, I did have a nice car, but we went and skated it this weekend. I got a couple clips on it. Now the windshield's shattered, and I'm gonna leave it like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, I just, it's cool that it's noticeable because I don't, you know, people do this often, right? Out of the pridefulness of it, where there's like funny stories that people have told me, like on the set of, you know, Fast Five or on the set of like any Fast and Furious, you know, you'll have The Rock fighting Jason Statham and they'll literally keep track and be like, just so you know, my fans want me to win. You can do 5 punches, but I have to do 5 punches. Like the pridefulness of like, I'm going to stop you there and just say this, you guys. This is all fake.
Yeah, just a little reminder. Yeah, it's not even real.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Here, no one's getting punched.
Yeah.
Right? So, and that's why in the John Wick, and it's awesome. I'm glad that those guys, those stuntmen became directors. The come up of that story, so inspiring about it, you know. But for me personally, pulling off a John Wick character, even being a bad guy, I'm entirely capable of, but for some reason, the humbleness of a dude who's trying much harder than maybe he should or could or is capable, that's much more inspiring than it's like, hey man, I'm Shane O'Neill. I could definitely like skate this right now. I want to see the guy that you're like, I'm not sure he can skate it. That guy pulling it off, you're surprised by that, right? You're going, oh shoot, because that surprise of it is more inspiring because that's way more relatable. Because you're feeling like
underdogs.
that I in my mind, I've always like, I just like that more.
Yeah,
So
I'm
when
the exact way.
yeah, where it just, and it's surprising too because
Yeah, it's more exciting because you're like, you know what I mean? You're like, you're Shane O'Neill. He's like, he's gonna make it.
He's gonna
make it. You
and
know
it's
what I mean?
not bad either. We're not holding it against him,
No,
but
it's
it is
amazing.
foreseeable for sure.
Yeah,
it's
like,
gonna happen.
He's gonna do it. Like this other guy is like this is out of his wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Like, is he
is it
gonna
go
get
down?
Yeah,
is it
I mean,
gonna happen?
and I always thought Ragdoll was a great example
Oh,
of like
Ragdoll's so sick.
Yeah.
super sick tricks pulled off, but also on the way up and stuff, you're like, oh, those trucks are loose.
Yeah,
You know?
and you're like,
Yeah.
this guy is gonna eat shit,
Yeah.
guaranteed. He is
Yeah.
going to slam.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're like, okay, he's gonna slam, but he's gonna get back up and like go for it again. You know what I mean?
And that's because it's relatable. That's the type of movie I'm really interested in making.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like I was saying too, it's like you having to like do these things that are kind of abnormal or kind of faux pas or kind of taboo in your kind of ascent to the level that you want to achieve, right through an avenue that's not the typical way. You know what I mean? That story is more compelling. Do you know what I mean? And then in retrospect, looking back, like if you do make it and you do make that movie that you want to make, and it does become popular, and people are gonna be like, they're gonna want to know this story of how you got from flipping Civic 10 to being your own
almost
guy.
being on the cover. Almost.
You know what I mean?
He was on the
You
cover.
were
What are
in
talking
my
about?
mind. You were on the
Dude.
cover, and
Well, I mean, I did have fantasies of that coming out. Of course, I did have fantasies of that. But yeah, I think you're right. That is a more compelling story. I think it is a harder story. I think independent filmmaking in general is a very hard road because you have to be everything and do everything. But I will tell you this, is that as I try out for other people's projects, I think I tried out I don't know, a couple months ago for some of the John Wick producers and writers, friends of Keanu, were putting out a movie and they wanted me to be basically, I play this like good guy, like underdog bellman who just helps everybody. He almost is like his like OCD about like people's bags and just being on point, whatever else. And they wanted me to be like a bad guy version of that and chasing people down. And it's funny because oftentimes my authenticity of who I really am, if you get me something that I really love and am backing, I'm a great actor. You get me something that anyone can play. Hey, so we need you to be a bank robber. You're kind of mean to the lady, the teller. I'm not your guy. So for me, the independent filmmaking comes from needing to write characters and stuff that I'm capable of playing because I'm really into it. Where there's actors out there that go, hey, I don't care if it's a rapist. I don't care if it's Taliban, like hilarious, taboo, whatever version. I just want to act, right? Like I am not like that. Not in a bad way.
so that's another interesting thing that I was thinking about too. Is like you're in a position to like turn down jobs and turn down roles where you're getting enough like stuff coming at you where you can be choosy at this point as well.
I don't know. Here's the thing. Not currently because things have really taken a pile drive for everyone.
Uh-huh.
But for me, I could be choosy if I wanted to. But the point I was making surrounding that is, and yeah, I do have some stuff come at me. Like I think people would be like, yeah, William, I think you're doing well. Internally, sometimes you go, I don't know, that's a long time to like between projects, but sure. But for me, actually, I mean in the audition process of being believable or being what whoever is making a movie, being what they want. I'm not good at that. I'm good at going, hey, I think this really crazy. Like, I'll send you the Two Bellman film, and you'll be like, oh, I get this guy. He's relatable. He's like a little bit quirky. You're like worried that he's a little bit crazy, but then he's a good guy. That stuff I can play really well. But what I can't play is like, hey, walk through that. I want you to kick in that door, and you're just the baddest dude that's ever come into this place. And I would be like, right? Like, and if you saw my audition, you'd be like, hey man, what are you doing with your mouth? Like, please stop, because it's just not, I'm one of those people that if I really believe in it, I can be really believable. And if I do not, but there's a lot of people that train acting in a way that no matter if they believe it or not, they're just like psyched to just play that out. And I'm just not a dyed-in-the-wool actor. I'm an entertainer for sure, but I must be into it in a way that I feel like truly authentic about. Like where I'm like, yeah, I think that's a cool story. I think that's funny. I think if you give me a good reason to come through the door, and it's this comedy bit later where he goes in the bathroom and actually he's like, I'm not tough at all. I don't know what I'm doing. I could play that for sure, but it has to have a twist or something to it. I don't play regular stuff.
Huh.
I
Yeah.
do the tough guy.
Yeah, I find it really hot. I don't know why, but just whatever.
But
What's
that's
up?
kind of like acting though, is like you have to be able to be something that you're not. and
But
not comfortable being.
truly, but here's the thing.
He's refusing to do that.
Right?
Have a good day.
This podcast is over. No, but what I'm saying is what you'd be surprised at is that there's brackets of it. That's all. Because broadly, from what you're saying, totally true, right? You're like, you're obviously not Hamlet, right? Your dad or whoever didn't die, or you're not, playing in this play like as, a car salesman. But the truth is, if it's not somewhat something that I like, and my point is, what I'll end up doing is all these independent movies that I'm gonna make, I'll end up having to write them so that I can have a role that makes sense, that's good. Where a lot of times, if you watch all the roles that come out in the new movie, you're like, oh, like the last 5, like you could watch all the movies from the last 5 years of Vin Diesel, The Rock, Jason Statham, and you'll just be like, oh, look, it's the same person
Same
again.
song, second verse.
Right? Where if you really want to be creative and you really want to introduce new characters, like, do you remember the dad from Back to the Future who's super quirky?
Yeah.
If you want to put that guy in a movie, do not try out for other people's movies and try and put him in there. It will not work. Write a movie yourself, and he's really charming and interesting in some way. Yeah, you'll get that made, but not fitting into other people's bracket. And that's what I can't really do. And it's the same with skateboard industry. That's why I'm not getting paychecks from someone, because they're like, where are we gonna put you? Right? Like, where though? Like, which shelf do you think this goes in? And you go, I know. It doesn't. I get it, right? Come on.
Yeah.
But for me, realizing that within that bigger arc of what I want to be able to be like actor guy to do whatever and make these cool movies that are really meaningful, I'll just have to do the harder work, which is to write it. That's okay though. Because you have more control.
Right. And then once you do write it, you have like a process. You're gonna produce it.
I'll have to.
You're gonna direct it, produce it.
I
Star
will
in it.
now because I have enough experience with it. Yeah.
Mhm.
And if I can get help with, Mark Spencer is always around. He's always helping me make stuff, meaning making it better.
Right.
Mark, of course.
Of course.
Incredible. Incredible. We don't have enough of a
Probably gets
podcast.
mentioned every time on this podcast.
Yeah, he doesn't. We don't have enough time to like go into.
That'll
the
be
awesomeness.
That'll be part 2
Yeah.
next Monday.
Yeah.
But he and I have written a lot of like this narcoleptic detective that's pretty hilarious. This thing that we started shooting in the UK many years ago. Actually, we need to finish. There's another Gravedigger one where these guys are like get taken out by these mob bosses, and they don't know which one of these guys they're supposed to kill. So they Rochambeau, and then they're like, this isn't going to work. They make these 2 guys race to dig each other's grave, and whoever finishes first, the other one dies. So these guys are having a race digging each other's grave. But just awesome stuff like that with Mark that realistically the next few years, that's probably what we'll go out when I can like really talk him into it. Because I brought him into all those 2 Bellman films, all my video parts, the Red Bull documentary. He's always there making sure, things that I am either not capable of or not capable of yet or need help with. He's always there. Quality control. Like, he's helped me so much along the way.
That's awesome.
And I'm sure it's one of those things, where the handoff between, him and Shad, where he's like, it's my younger brother's coming over. I don't know. And then Mark is like, I'm moving to California. And Shad's like, good luck, you guys. Or else you're going to do it. But yeah, it's been one of those cool relationships where he has helped me even to this last part. Any of that really beautiful editing in there coming out of the tire as you see me, that like genius level, like.
If there's anything you
skill.
see you like,
It's probably
Mark
Mark.
Yeah. And I mean, that's crazy. It's like 28 years of experience for him, like doing that stuff. So
Yeah. Well, and dude, even that, the intro skit for the ninja stuff quickly set up. Mark and I shot it. Like, I had a premiere out in LA, and we shot it, and he edited it the night before, of course.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we're like, we'll go back later and really fine tune it. And every time we watch it back to fine tune it, we're like, it's gonna work.
It's fine.
Yeah. I'm like, you nailed it the first time, Mark. Yeah, he's so freaking awesome. But realistically, I'll try to rope him in. In fact, what's cool is those 2 Bellman movies that we produced. I think the one in Korea and Dubai, when they got, when we got them finished and realized, they actually need some love and whatever else, he put so much work into that. He ended up being co-director on those because he was able to. He's awesome.
That's
the point
amazing.
of that story. Yeah. So yeah, I'll try to partner with him if his sanity will allow it, and not in a bad way. I just ask a lot of him because he's incredible.
So are you like that on your stunts too? Like where you're just like kind of losing it, like yelling and.
So, funny story over the years, because I've like my brain didn't really turn on, and I didn't really get stuff till I was about 28. I'm serious. Like, I just didn't understand what was happening. So me now, I've trained in this new video part. I've trained all those tricks beforehand. I've tried them out at smaller obstacles. I've worked out the distances of things where I don't really need to yell anymore because I'm not.
You've actually like, you're not like throwing yourself at things anymore. You usually have like a process of like.
Well, and because I just never, until 28, I was like, wait, you could start at a 2-stair and kickflip it. Like, think about it. Like, people always ask me, this parkour guy's like, hey, man, I just sent you this footage of me side flipping. I'm like, yeah, that's sick. That's on a 3-stair. They're like, yeah, we can all do it. It's not that hard. I'm like, imagine this, if you will. Parkour doesn't exist yet, and if it does, you don't have a computer. You go, hey, I can do flips, and I can jump to my skateboard. I know. I'll go to a 10-stair and try it for the first time.
Right.
Just down 10. Not 9, not 8, not 7, not 6. 10.
Yeah.
Right? So for me, I just finally realized in that process, like, hey, your ankles will last longer if you just tried it on something that you knew you could do it, you know? So me now, my freakouts are if I've gone there 10 times and I'm like, I know this trick is gnarly, but it's not that unrealistic and it won't happen. Because there's a trick I didn't put in my part. It's a run up the wall backflip. I have my skateboard behind me, so as I'm flipping this way, I caveman my skateboard underneath me the other way, and the physics don't work. And me now, like, used to scream to commit. I can go to that same spot. I can, like, from the moment I took a Tiba there to shoot a photo. I still need to finish it. I can commit to every single try. Every try.
That's awesome.
Like where you're like, these ankles are gonna break or I'm gonna land it. And you know what really hurts your feelings? Because usually, right, you're like, if I just committed, I'd probably do it. You know how sad it is when you commit every try and don't do it? That is a new problem, you guys. That is a new
I think most
type.
skateboarders have experienced that. But yeah, I say you're skating a rail or something big you're terrified of, and you finally pull the trigger. And then you're like, oh, I still have to
Wait, it's also hard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's also still hard.
Yeah, what the heck? So I don't freak out anymore, and during stunt stuff, been a solid while since I've really done that to like truly. Now, the one thing that is interesting that has replaced that, I notice if it's something that I need to pull the trigger on once that I go, hey, this is a big deal. If I bet you money, and I'll do counter bets, right? I'm like, listen, if I don't jump to my skateboard right now, $100. And I go, okay, right? They're always like, all right. But that's one of those things.
You need a consequence.
Yeah, I do need. And what's funny, I used to, self-acceptance, I used to be like, well, that's stupid. Shouldn't have to bet money. People are having to keep track of money now so you can bet them. But if I'll just be like, hey, this is too gnarly, I can tell. You can tell I'm not going to pull the trigger. Let's bet this money right now. I'll pay you. You don't have to pay me, right? Because even my brain doesn't even
point two is just to pull the trigger.
But instead of getting mad at me, I used to be like, yeah, why do you have to yell? You're stupid. Why do you have to bet people? Like, not accepting the fact that that's working, where now it's just a hack for me.
Just
I'm like,
embrace it.
here's $200 if I don't jump to my skateboard. And I'll, like, that first time I did this run up the wall backflip, another version of it in that Red Bull documentary, Mark and I were there. I'm, like, clearly capable of it, cannot pull the trigger. And I go, Mark, bet me something. He goes, I don't know if you know this, but I've never drank, right? Like in my whole life. Mark goes, if you don't land on this one, you have to take a shot of whiskey. And I was like, what? Like the counter bet. And sure enough, just nailed that one. That's the one I think I landed in the thing. But I'll do counter bets like that all the time. Or I'll even do ones like extreme like embarrassment, like if I don't jump on this one and this one's hilarious, I will run down the street naked right now. I will take my clothes, and I'm like, of course, like, oh,
you're never gonna do that, right?
No, I would. No, that's the thing, I will like that. But
you're saying,
yes, I'm sorry,
you're never gonna do that because you're gonna do the
now
other
you're
thing.
gonna pull the trigger.
But it's big enough stakes that it really does work.
Yeah,
it will. Like if you ever try that one time, like where I've even done that, where I'm like, all right, fine, if I don't do this one, I have to try the next try with no shoes on. And you go, well, that would be terrible. Exactly. So why don't we just get down to biz with the thing we should be doing?
Right. Yeah. Interesting.
It's so weird that I have to do that because it's truly extreme.
Well, here's the deal. At least you figured it out.
Yeah.
Instead of just giving up, especially if you want the end result. You know?
Yeah.
Instead of saying, all right, well, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You know how your brain works, and
and
you're at the end of the day, you're still.
Yeah, obsessed.
The bottom line is, you're obsessed enough. You're like, I'm gonna make it happen, and if this is what it takes, so be it.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's a lot of people out there that are so talented and just skateboarders, for example.
Yeah.
That you're like, dude, where's your video part? And you've been talking about wanting to film a video part for a long time, but you're not doing you don't
Yeah.
do anything about it. It's
Yeah.
almost like it's one thing if you don't care, you don't want to do that.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
when
you
all
literally
you're
don't.
doing is obsessing over it and talking to your friends about it and blah blah
Mhm.
blah, and then you don't make any effort to go work towards it.
Yeah, then
But you're
like,
still, you're still
Yeah.
complaining about it and
Yeah.
wishfully thinking.
yeah,
Like,
and obviously that's relatable because we all, we all are like, well, it's pretty gnarly. I don't want to go down, or it's going to be a kick out. But yeah, I do think it's a good way, like, to get around yourself making excuses for sure. And I just know that it works, so I'll do it all the time. I just know that I'm going to bet someone and just be like, all right, I'm really sorry, but we're going to bet.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you know?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because everyone's brain works differently, and I don't think anybody's really like. I'm sure there are people that like master how their brain works and figure out what it takes for them to achieve like high level success in whatever
Hmm.
realm they're doing. But I think if more people had more self awareness, then there'd be a lot less obstacles to high level achievement throughout the
Yeah.
general population.
Yeah.
And also worrying about maybe what other people think too, and like, because we all want to
Oh,
be the,
yeah, definitely.
well,
No,
we all want to be
really.
the guy that's
Yeah.
like,
No, you're right.
yeah, I'm just gonna kickflip image 20, no big deal. And you're like, well, guess what? That doesn't just happen like that.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
gonna take some effort, and that's cool if you can show up and do that. That's
Mhm.
awesome.
Yeah.
But I can't,
Yeah.
and I want to, so I'm gonna do whatever it takes to get to that point.
Mhm. Yeah.
And just owning it instead of trying to hide behind it or just giving up and then daydreaming about it forever.
Yeah.
but not-
And then your friends get to hear about it some more.
yeah,
Like, but you still haven't gone over it.
yeah, exactly. Not
Yeah,
making it happen.
And I do think it's sort of a shifted, like my desperation of like yelling at myself to talk myself into stuff from years prior, and then that quiet desperation just goes into a little new level where it's a little more subtle, which is nice.
Well, I think too, we all
Yeah.
we all have that, like what he used to externalize in an extreme fashion. I do a lot of the same thing, but it's internal,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know?
No, I can see you doing it internally, but
Yeah.
you're just polite enough to not say it out loud.
Yeah, I am.
Which is
so
sick.
great. No, but
Yeah, I mean, I
I'm
was
mostly kidding, but
a little
I
bit
thi-
Tourette'sy on my part.
Well, yeah, I mean, you are, but
Yeah.
I think once again it goes back to put somebody else in that position
Mhm.
that's terrified or trying to pull a trigger or whatever else, and they're probably gonna 90% of the time, unless they have it under control and full confidence, and that's why they're not freaking out,
Oh yeah,
and they can handle biz, they usually step down and throw in the towel,
yeah,
so
yeah.
I mean, I used to big brother syndrome, but yeah, we'd go to spots, I'm like, he's gonna freak out.
Totally, totally.
And then I got to the point where like, well, he's gonna freak out, but he's still gonna get at the end of the day, he'll walk away with his clip. So let's just let him do his thing as long as he's not,
Yeah, totally.
you got like
Well,
women and
and-
children over at the
Yeah.
park. Like, sorry, he's a good
Yeah. Well, what would help too is if it was a spot that was specifically me,
Uh-huh.
at least it wasn't him being like, "Hey, man, I'm really sorry, but you can't yell right here. I'm trying to throw down."
Yeah, yeah.
That would help if it was like like he was the filmer.
Uh-huh.
That would help a little bit too. To kind of calm down the situation.
I mean, that always kind of stoked me though when we were skating. I'm like, dude, Williams is just gonna lose it, bro. And it's gonna get hyped. You know what I mean? Like,
That's fair.
You're like, here it comes, here it comes.
but it wasn't like what's his face? Oh my god, my brain is melting. But,
Gary Getz?
yes,
Hockey
exactly.
temper?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
wasn't
well,
like that where
his
you're like
was mid-
blowing the vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like. It's like, oh, yeah, Shad, or like William's just gonna be like yelling, but he's not gonna like be aggressive or like you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
it
just a
was-
different.
What's funny,
vibe
it was
about
never
it.
at anyone.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, that's what's interesting about it. It was truly like at the obstacle, or myself.
Right.
And it was never,
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm justifying this.
Yeah, thank you, Chip.
It was
Thank you.
never as irritating as it was. It was always on. I don't think he ever freaked out and then didn't do
Yeah.
Yeah.
or try what he was trying. It was always on an upward trajectory.
Right.
Oh
Not,
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
it wasn't like he didn't get the trick
Uh-huh.
or he tried it forever and failed or broke himself off and was done and then freaked out,
Uh-huh.
he would always freak out
Yeah.
and then get the trick.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
which is a little different than hockey temper. You
Yeah.
know?
Or just
Yeah.
like break your board and go to the
Yeah.
van and
Right.
Yeah.
get sad or whatever. Yeah, it was
Hey,
definitely.
thanks though. Hey, thanks.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's a cool perspective. Yeah, because I was trying to ramp it up. And you know who else kind of cured me a little bit? And don't get me wrong, in any situation that I feel like I'm gonna, but me now, my self-acceptance is like, oh, I can just use it, and then I'll just do, you know what I mean? I'll use it as like a medical grade step in my process though. You know how like the freak out before was like a little bit more like naturally just like I don't know what's happening but I've got to do this. Me now I'm like I'm just gonna have to scream for a second, just give me a second, and then I'll do it and keep going.
Yeah.
But dude, Sierra Fellers is
Uh-huh.
who, because he's, I don't know if you guys know this, but like if you were like, all right, let's look at Sierra's career of like his not his career of like what company he's on, but his capabilities as a skateboarder, and he has never been better than right now.
That's insane.
If
Yeah,
you went
it's-
with him today to a spot,
blow your brain.
he will blow your mind and also get mad. Or at some point, I hung out with him enough that I was like, wait a minute. I've been thinking this whole time that I'm trying to get past this barrier, barred entry towards something. Sierra's on the other side of that wall and still mad. I've got no chance. He's already on the other side of the wall that I would like to ever get through and get through sometimes and then jump back over and have to restart and try again. He's already over there. What? Like, how could you be mad if you were that good at anything?
Yeah.
That I was like, okay, this whole thing is never mind. You
Right.
know?
You're like, it's never enough.
Dude,
Yeah.
he's incredible.
Yeah.
So, like, if you see him skateboard, you'll be like, you are as pro now as you have ever been today, and you are just livid. Just mad. He's like, I don't know why it won't do the, and I'm like, you just caught it with your back foot perfectly like this.
Yeah.
I don't like that pivot.
I
You're
don't
like,
like that way.
oh shoot, you know, like to a level that I'm like, I'm worried, but it's fine. Because by the way, in every other instance, he's totally calm, mild mannered, nicest, super rad.
Yeah.
But just his skateboarding drives him nuts in that way. And it makes him obviously incredible at it. But it just was a huge lesson that I was like, I can now never be good enough. You know?
Yeah.
Like what my anger was towards, I'm not good enough. And I was like, I'm just going to then not bother with that anymore. Right?
Yeah. You know what that makes me think too? When people get like that, it makes you just not want to care that much. You're like, this seems torturous. I'm good with where I'm at.
Yeah.
It's all good. I'm gonna go to my day job.
I
and-
think, yeah, and I feel like that was, for me, it was always the most attractive part about skateboarding is how unserious it could be and
Right.
be so much fun. And
And
like,
a beautiful sliding scale too.
Uh-huh.
Serious, totally non-serious.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But for me, I always like that other end of it. I'm like, dude, I don't want to achieve anything in this. I just want to have fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't
Yeah.
I don't want to jump down 100 stairs or
Yeah.
5 stairs or 6 or 7 stairs, really.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't feel like doing that.
Yeah.
I don't have to. No one's. I
Right.
get nothing in return for trying
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
day long and breaking my ass off.
Yeah.
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 You know
If
what
it
I mean?
doesn't satisfy you and it doesn't serve you,
Yeah.
then
Why?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's my favorite. That was always my favorite part about it.
Yeah.
Is that it means what it means to me, and it means what it means to you.
right.
To you,
Very personalized.
only thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
But yeah, I think in kind of capping that off though, it's like, yeah, Sierra taught me that I was like, okay, cool. Because right, you're always thinking, well, if I could backtail this thing or kick backtail this thing every time, it'd be over. It'd just be super fun. I'd love it. But the problem is that's not true with skateboarding. Because then you'd be like, I bet you I could kickflip out of that. And realizing that you're on a hamster wheel, not in a bad way, but it is a
Yeah,
hamster wheel.
like it
You're
never
gonna get
ends.
this, and then
Yeah.
you're gonna get this. So seeing broadly, looking forward, going, all right, well, at the end of the day, if that guy's at the other end of this and he's still not super satisfied and he's actually mad, then I'm just gonna meander down there slowly towards
Yeah.
that area and just know that the whole time I'm gonna keep getting better and never be good enough, but then accept the fact that I'm never good enough and just enjoy that process.
Yeah. Instead of losing your mind.
Yeah, because you can just lose your mind the whole time and be all, dude, he can switch 3 nollie tray out of crooks, beautiful, like any crook to nollie flip, any version, and beautifully done. I'm not talking, like he does the tiniest little wobble one, and he's like, we're redoing it, redo. And you're like, I don't know what we're doing. It was gorgeous. You that you would, you're like,
That's
that
funny.
you want to redo?
Yeah.
But here's the thing, he's like on that level, he's that good that he is his own taskmaster in that way. So I was like, well, I'm gonna be nice to me then.
Mhm.
I'm gonna
Right.
like walk me up there nicely, hold my own hand,
Mhm.
and just be good to me about it because it won't matter.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, it was huge step in the right direction for me to no freak out zone.
That's cool though. And
Yeah.
then that's like for having that be such like an integral part of your process to be able to like completely like eliminate it and start like another mode of operating and still achieve the same or higher level of success is kind of like from a psychological perspective pretty fascinating for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, and here's the thing though, it does still come out like, and I'll show you when the extras come out for that new video part. When I land that hippie jump front flip right out in the desert, I'm cruising away. It was the biggest victory freak out ever though. So it's interesting because it doesn't go away, but it got filtered into. I must have screamed like this for like the lady friend has a video. I'm like, because like you go there 13 times or whatever it is, and so that like
You're probably like trying to decompress, and
yeah.
like, your brain doesn't even know how to deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah, where I couldn't yell hard enough because I was just so happy that it was done. So that part of the process and the front yelling part gone, but there's some version of it.
Oh
for
boy,
me.
he's got backhand yelling syndrome.
But I mean, psychologically,
The
it is interesting.
celebration.
Yeah,
It's almost
oh boy.
like over. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Well, did you
That's
see?
fine.
I jumped off the second roof just screaming at the
Dude,
very
that
end
was
of
like
my
the
part.
biggest like little kid hooray jump, like yippee!
Oh, dude.
And I don't blame you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was, well, not only that, but at the very end of it, I had gone there so many times, and you build up over time the myelin in your brain to get better at something. But I landed that one third try, where usually I'll snap the board on the first or second try.
Yeah.
That I was just
You
like
were shocked,
extra shocked. And I brought one of my friends who's also a fellow stuntman. He couldn't be there. He's a skateboarder too, where he would help me be like, all right, William, I mean, you're not getting close. Do you think, like, just to like, because
Yeah.
when you try a trick enough times and nothing works, nothing is different, that I'll just bring random people with me. Like, maybe the energy is different today. Maybe you have something to say that's just going to help this randomly. And so my friend Solomon Brindy couldn't come. And he said, hey, I'm going to have you bring Travis Wong, who's an old friend of mine. He's like awesome stunt coordinator guy. And it was so rad because I got up there and which you're like, William, you brought a stunt. And I was like, listen,
I don't care.
I have
what
been
it
to this
takes.
roof so many times and hauled up 2 ladders, this roof to that roof, and then all this like plywood, all this heavy stuff every time. I've brought Mark Spencer for the millionth time, bless his heart, Holden, like all the people that I was just like, I'm just going to take everything I've ever going to need. Anyway, so I get up there, I throw one in practice, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to bet everybody on first try. I'm going to do it first try. I bet everybody. I'm like, don't make the first one. And he goes, hey, so I checked the footage, and he's like, does stunts for a living. So he's like, I don't know, just, you know what, he crashed through the door that time. Let's scoot it back a little bit so it doesn't hit the door. But his demeanor of like, hey, man, I'm detached enough. All I can tell you, because people get up there with me and look at it and be like, oh, God, man, I don't know.
Yeah, you're like, I don't need to hear
they're
that.
helping me feel. And he was like, well, dude, to be honest with you, your board's here. I think you move it up another 1.5 foot, looks like. Probably going to be fine. Second one almost 2. He's like, hey, I'm sorry. Maybe we move that 6 inches back. I think you're there. And just kind of walks away.
Yeah.
Like not fear-mongering with me about like the stress of looking. And then sure enough, third try, hit it, roll off. And he's only come to this session once. Everybody else has been there like 10 times. And he was like, well, that was cool.
He's like, well,
Yeah,
no
big
big
deal.
deal. Yeah, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
That's
He's
funny.
like, I'd say we all get lunch. I was like, just crying down below. Mark's like, I'm like hugging Mark and just crying.
That's
Yeah.
awesome, dude.
Yeah, it made me laugh though. Because, like what you go through to get that and then what it looks like peripherally just is what it is,
Yeah.
But yeah, him being detached really helped me. Because your friends that care about you, they do all the time. That rail is pretty big,
Right.
It really helped for him to stunt coordinate. You're like, listen, man, I'd say you move your board back a little, but I think you're fine. You're like, yeah, cool, you're right. I'll just pretend like I'm not scared.
Right. That's awesome.
That's sick.
Yeah, it was cool. It was super cool. those guys are rad.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh, is it time? Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, it's we got.
Awesome.
I think that's a good thing to leave.
Yeah, it's good
great
high
to
note
shut
on.
it down on.
Yeah.
Cool.
Is there any like shout outs or you got anyone you want to say hi to or thanks or
Yeah.
anything? Any final words?
I mean, you're welcome to go first.
Oh,
You're
I'm
right.
the.
You're the guest
the
of the
co-
guest.
No.
Are you my guest?
Yeah, I'm the co-host now, so I
Oh,
don't have to
sick.
give.
Are you the
shout-outs.
co-host?
Yeah.
This whole time.
Yeah,
That's
you're
right.
like I thought you'd be more co-host.
I thought you would be on my team.
I was for a couple things. Jeez,
That's so
man.
sick. We just have a full meltdown right now at the end. Okay. Yes, everyone. Thank you, everyone, so much for the 5 years of helping me film my video part. I went all over LA, California, freaking all around San Diego, Temecula. Oh man, June, Mike, Holden, Drew, who's my main filmer and my super good friend. I'll bring him out here at some point. He's the calmest, nicest, raddest, most patient. Where he'd be like, I don't know how we've done this, William, but we've come back to this spot 6 times. We've already filmed it a bunch of times. Should we keep coming? And he's rad because he's not saying no to filming me. He's just letting me know that it's 6 times.
Yeah.
Holden, you're the best. My lady friend Pay, she freaking would come out and walk on my back sometimes before sessions. You know, like
Just
that.
to crack you.
Yeah, just to crack you. Like
That's
literally would be like elbows in the whatever, which is so
Super
sick.
supportive though.
Mark Spencer, of course. Yeah, Mark. You love me, you hate me, and I don't blame you. I put you through a lot, pal. You're the best. Who else? Oh my gosh, there's just so many people. Micah Hollinger.
Never heard of him.
Who's that guy?
Saba.
Oh,
You guys are the best. It's so funny to be put on the spot because you know you would say something differently.
Yeah, it's
You know? But yeah, everyone that helped me with my video, I mean, dude, so many people, like, it's crazy how meaningful it can be when you do a project yourself and it's for no money. It's just because you wanted to do it. That, like, getting help from, like, Mike, my friend Mike, like, their idea, June was there with us. Do you remember that part, my video part, where, like, it's the 2 vacuum hoses and I launch my skateboard into the air?
I remember.
Thanks, Chip. He's a co-host. Anyways, but my friend Mike had all the idea about where to film it from and how to do it, and he's a super talented skateboarder. But he was like, whatever, I'm gonna film this clip. I'm gonna film it right now. It's like this, and I was kind of like, Mike, do you film? And sure enough, that clip, if you watch that clip, it's freaking
Came out
glorious. It's
super
a
good.
cool idea, everything. But people like that like me now, every time I go anywhere by Temecula, and I had met Mike through Jason Park, and Jason Park, you're the best. But anyone who was with me on that video part journey, I was so deeply into it and so like dead serious about it that I will hit up June, I'll hit up Mike, I'll hit up all those, anyone that was around in that time, just be like, hey man, you're awesome, I really like you, because I was that, and they're usually like, William, we're busy, we can't. But to me, it was so meaningful that it's hilarious that
They would take the time.
that they would take the
Yeah.
time to do that. Anyway, thank you guys, everybody help me. Thank you guys for letting me come on here. Chip,
you.
thanks for letting me tell those stories. You didn't even tear up. You did so good.
Oh, believe me, I'm fighting them back, William.
Shad, you're all
Completely emotionally disconnected.
yeah.
I
You're like, I would never.
I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Man, okay, I think that's it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna feel bad later. Because
Well,
you know what I really wanted to do? I actually wanted to do this at the end of the video premiere and thank everybody, and I just forgot. So I'm glad I could do it now. Thanks for the opportunity.
Of course. I mean,
The friends you have lost.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Richard Jackson, love you, pal. Richie Jackson, he and I go back and forth judging each other's clips, skating. And he actually, at some point it'll come out, when we were in early stages, I let him do a cut of it. And he did when somebody knows, like, you want a viral hit, here's a viral. And he has like that right length of video part. And he threw a lot of the extra clips out that I'm in love with. He threw out. It'll probably realistically be more easier viewed than my like 8 minutes or whatever I did. But yeah, I think it's kind of cool now to do alternate versions of stuff. So
Yeah, I
after
like
it
that
drops,
a lot.
hey, here's the Richie Jackson version of
Yeah,
what he
that
thought,
would be so good.
And I really appreciate him doing it because he he's a great tastemaker. He does
He's got an
understand
eye
a
for
lot of.
things.
So it was fun to see what he thought was valuable about it. Anyway, thanks, Richie. Okay, that's it. I'll stop. I guess.
Is that it? You sure?
Trifecta high five.
Can you think of? Hey, thank you. Shad filmed some tricks on my part for sure.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
thanks for filming.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and thanks for. He's the person. I'll just say this very quickly since I have the floor here. He was the person who got me really, really strict on wanting to be as good at filming as I was at skateboard. You know, like
Yeah.
because here's the thing, he's so picky that during Colorado days I was like, oh, I don't, okay, and he's like, well, who's gonna film us? You think we're gonna meet up at Denver Shop every day? Me and you're about to go cut some lawns and then film. And I was like, yeah, cool. So he was the one who was really picky about the filming and stuff. And me now, everyone that I go out with, like Destin, who's with us now, I can get people clips where they're like, hey man, you film? And they're like, I love this clip. I'm like, yeah, my brother put me through the ring. But the truth is, it gets results, you know? So
Yeah,
thanks.
That's cool. Well, you're welcome.
Yeah. And what's even more flattering is I filmed a lot of his clips in the lunch break video, and he likes them.
I do.
It's great.
That's surprising, you guys.
Yeah.
That's
I don't film with a lot
surprising.
of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think in the end we can all agree it was really just about you getting your
It
clips.
was. Yeah.
You trained me to film so you could get filmed.
It's
Yeah.
all about me.
Anyway, that's it. Okay, we'll stop. That's a sick.
Just answer it. I got it.
Sick. You still have a landline. I love that. Classic.
Yeah, it's they don't call until we're live broadcasting something,
It's
and then
fine.
Or you have them call so you seem important, which
yeah, you know, which
The phone
which
should
you
have
have
been
to
ringing
do
off
when
the hook.
you're not, so you have to do something.
God, these callers trying to call into the show.
Yeah,
Oh, so
We
many
got called one
questions.
time in the middle of our stream.
that's
You did?
nice.
That's
It
awesome.
was by one of our moderators, though.
That's sick though.
Even so, still good.
Rad.
Yeah,
Cool.
I think that's a wrap. It's 2:00. It was kind of good timing today. It was
Yeah,
a really good
yeah.
conversation. Thanks for coming in, both of you guys. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, William, for
Yeah, thank
doing
you,
all
William.
the hard work back there.
Other
Appreciate you.
William.
That's so sick. That's your name. I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's rad.
We thought
We have a William too.
It's
Yeah.
crazy to hear William's gonna freak out today because Matt says the same thing.
You're like, oh, you're really hit close to home.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
That's awesome.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you're just tuning in late and missed some of the broadcast, check back on YouTube, our YouTube channel. We should have the full rebroadcast up definitely in the next couple days. And yeah, thank you for watching. Keep checking back. We should have another episode coming hopefully soon. And yeah, everyone have a good day, and we'll catch you later. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Maybe.